Bruce just put in the chat.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of. I wanted to kick in like Sean, man. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another. I can't do it though. I don't have the energy. What's going on? What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Halas Hall Hangover. You might know it as this show's fucking awesome. What's going on, Kyle? That being said, though, we are down two hosts tonight. Sean, the normal, our regular host, guys, spending time with the family, as is Dustin. And now the Bears season is over. It's important that we all do more of that. Kyle, how you feeling tonight?
Doing all right, man. How are you?
I am living somebody's dream, dude. So there is a lot of news, guys, on the lakefront. I should say Declan Doyle refused, or I don't know what word to use. He told the Eagles get fucked. Basically, Al Harris is getting a lot of interest from the Steelers. That Mike McCarthy staff that's about to start being molded. Nashawn Wright, guys, selected to a Pro Bowl. But so is Shadur Sanders today. So I don't know, I don't know how much that means anymore. And the Bears got apparently, guys. Kyle will tell you the sources. I'm not sure. There's some reports that ETN and Trey Hendrickson are on the Bears' radar in regards to free agencies this offseason. Um, Kyle, let's kick this off after this.
Windy City banners rocking 4 stars align. Dynasty dreams rise, Bulls in their prime. Cubs curse shattered, the victory divine. Fields be running, clock ticking on my timeline. Shot-town heroes, legends never fade. Black Hawks flying, cutting ice with the blade. White Sox diamonds, the Southside parade. 4 stars shine bright, legacies they made. Mike with the crown, air rain, no dispute. Sweetness in the backfield, Walter in pursuit. Bear down Sunday's midfield, battles cute. Chicago.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us again for another one, guys. Thanks for everybody who's already in the chat. Kyle, you're gonna have to shout out that chat, control that chat, read that chat.
Yeah. So
Every
real quick,
chat.
we have breaking
I
news.
have no
Bruce.
access.
Breaking news. Bruce reports the Ravens have put a slip in today for a request to interview Bears offense coordinator Declan Doyle. As Brennan said earlier, Declan Doyle did reject the Eagles' offer to be OC. So let's see what he does with the Baltimore Ravens there. I believe now Jesse Minter, the old uh, Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator, is now their head coach. So that it appears he's showing interest in Declan Doyle as
Yeah, that was
well.
an interesting hire. What'd you think of that? What'd you make of that hire?
That's
I
my
read
favorite
it.
hires. It's my favorite hire so far.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
the
Jesse Minter.
Chargers.
I wouldn't have been terribly upset if Jesse Minter was the Bears head coach last year if they couldn't find a way to land Ben Johnson or Mike Vrabel.
It felt
Vizzo,
left fieldy though to me.
no, he's been on the radar for a couple of years now. Vizzo Joe is in the house. Phil is in the house. Breaking news, Bruce in the house. As
What's
always,
going on,
we
guys?
appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining the show, man.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, guys. So we started with the news. Declan Doyle is now getting an interview with the Ravens, but he did decline the Eagles job, and I think that's a smart decision for Declan Doyle for his future. I think it would be smart as well to refute this interview as well with the Ravens. If I were him, I would probably stick with Ben Johnson. I know he's could become an immediate play caller elsewhere, but I think that Ben would eventually show him the Kyle, what do you think? Do you think Ben Johnson would eventually alleviate himself as a head coach of the play calling commands if he was able to trust Declan Doyle could do it himself?
I mean, maybe after. I mean, we
He
saw
let him do it in the preseason, right?
Yeah, we've seen coaches like Andy Reid relieve the play calling for the small stints at a time, but usually in somebody who's been standing next to him for a long time and he's found a lot of trust. And I don't think it would probably be years before Declan Doyle gets a chance at play calling. And I do agree with you, Brennan. I think Philadelphia would be a terrible place to go. I just think if you're going to be an offensive coordinator trying to move your way up in the coaching ranks and trying to find a head coaching job, Jalen Hurts is not going to get you there. I just don't think he's as good a quarterback as people think he is. I understand they won a Super Bowl, but let's face it, you guys, the Eagles probably have the best all-around roster in football. If I'm him, I would consider Baltimore because I think Lamar Jackson can make offensive coordinators look really good and probably get their names slipped into some head coaching searches. But I certainly would not take that Eagles job. To me, Brennan, right now, if you look at the team in totality, the Eagles are in kind of a downfall. I mean, this is what 3 of the last 4 years now. There's been nothing but drama on the sidelines. It seems like Jalen
Well,
Hurts.
offensive coordinators get either promoted or fired.
Yeah, and
From that.
unfortunately, Kellen Moore seemed to be that guy that was the best, and then he went to Dallas, and now he's doing a good job in New Orleans. That's just ever since then, there just seems to be a bunch of drama on that team. I wouldn't go anywhere near the Eagles if I was an offensive or looking to be an
I
offensive
wouldn't
coordinator
want to.
going into the future.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I concur, but I would just would. I'm sorry, man. I don't know the guy personally. It's just the way I felt since he's been around as a head coach. Would not want to work for that guy. Sirianni. I would not want to work
Well,
for that guy.
I'll
So
tell
you're
you this.
right. So you're right, Kyle. Declan Doyle with Minter and Lamar Jackson. I mean, you made that. I don't know how I like looked past that. That is actually a really quality opportunity for Declan Doyle because they I do like the character of the head coach they hired, and you got a quarterback that's gonna make shit happen, just like Caleb. So it'd be
Well,
probably be a good decision for him.
and like let's face it, if Declan Doyle stays in Chicago as the quasi offensive coordinator, he's not doing any play calling. He's
The
probably
grunt
not.
work guy.
Yeah, he might not be able to pick exactly which job he wants. The Baltimore Ravens are a really good opportunity. I mean, you're talking about coaching a guy who's recently won 2 MVPs. There's no way. I mean, guarantee you Declan Doyle could look good on the Ravens if he runs a certain style of offense. You still have Derrick Henry there for another year. If I were him, if he's going to take an offensive coordinator job, of the jobs he's been offered, you're talking about between the Eagles and Ravens. That's not even a debate. I would say it's the Ravens in a heartbeat. And like I said, I like Nick Sirianni. Brandon. I think I shouldn't say I like Nick Sirianni. I think Nick Sirianni is a good head coach. I mean, it's almost undeniable at this point.
He's
The guy's been
annoying.
He is, but he's been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. He won one of them. The only thing that I don't like about Nick Sirianni is I don't think he's very professional. If you watch the video of him yelling at AJ Brown on the sideline or in the tunnel, that needs to be done off camera and then in the locker room or in the office. You can't be doing that stuff.
Yeah,
I
that
think he
happens in an
is,
office. He's probably getting knocked out.
and there's too much drama there. He's obviously not a good leader of men. That locker room seems to be like in disarray. For me personally, whether it's offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, I'm not going anywhere near Philadelphia. That's just me. But I would totally understand why somebody like Declan Doyle would take that opportunity to try to move up the ranks. I get it, man. You always want to move up. You always want a promotion. You always want to make more money. I totally understand.
Kyle, are you tanning?
No,
So you're making me look like a dick.
you probably have different lighting than I do, man. I have very dim lighting.
Yeah, yeah. It's the lighting, guys. Lighting. It's totally the lighting.
What's up? What's up,
Oh,
Flex? What's up, Trey?
yeah. I think that we talked about this in the last week's show, Kyle. Regardless of whether or not Declan Doyle is hired to another team and decides to leave the Chicago Bears, I think Ben Johnson will do a good job at finding the next guy he wants to mentor because I do think that's what he was trying to do. I do. I think he wanted a young guy he could maybe who's kind of clean. You know what I mean? He's not cluttered with all this bullshit from organizations he's already coached with. It's like you
Yeah, he
could
would be the he
you
would be
could mold Declan
youngest.
Doyle. He was so young, you could mold him into the coach or the play caller that you wanted him to be if you wanted to alleviate yourself of that responsibility.
He would be the. I mean, I know he's the youngest offensive
He's
coordinator in
not
football now,
tainted.
but he would be the youngest play caller in the NFL in terms of on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know. I think it would be on both sides of the ball, but I know for a fact if he took a job as the Baltimore Ravens or Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator and he was calling plays, he would be the youngest play caller in the NFL today.
Good for him. At Jacksonville, offensive coordinator is 30. How old is Doyle?
I think he's 29. Doyle's
Jesus.
young. Definitely Doyle's young. He also
Made me reflect on my life.
I think Ben Johnson sees a little bit of himself in Declan Doyle. I think that's why I hired him. I think he thinks he's an up and coming offensive genius. He's going to be a quarterback whisperer. He's that kind of guy. I think he just thinks he adds to that locker room. He's a good leader. I think he's good with the players. But yeah, at the same time, but I don't think
Yeah, he's got a
I think
poise. He's
I think
stoic.
yeah, and I don't think Ben Johnson would be upset if he helped him get a play calling duty or a head coaching job somewhere. I think that's kind of the goal, right? I think you heard Ben Johnson in his press conference say everybody's going to want a piece for our success. Everybody's going to want to hire coaches away from the Bears because of how we performed
Yeah,
last season.
I
At
had
the
said
same
this
time, as
weeks
much
ago.
as it sucks, he wants these guys to get better jobs. He wants these guys to move up in the rankings. These guys are personal friends of his at this point.
Yeah, I said weeks ago when I started seeing the flies dropping, man. When you were down to or up to, I should say, 8 head coaches that had been terminated. That's 8 entire staffs. And where do the newcomers, the guys who are getting hired to these organizations, where are they going to look for their answer when it comes to play call or offense coordinator, defensive coordinators? They're going to look to successful organizations, especially with a staff like Ben Johnson's, who just took an organization that or a team that won 5 fucking games and won the NFC North, which was looked at as one of the strongest divisions in football. So, I mean, it made sense to me that people were going to start calling the Bears. And Kyle, are there not coaches on this Bear staff that if you were a head coach of another team, you're like, that guy needs a call at least, an
Yeah,
interview at
it
least.
wouldn't be Declan Doyle, and only
No,
because like,
yeah,
I like
that's
Flexdig's. Look at
that's the
Flexdig's chat right
surprise.
here, Brennan. Flexdig says Doyle is more of a figurehead that BJ could count on to do his tedious task. Ben runs the Bears. That's what
Yeah,
matters going forward.
he's a
Finding
sweater.
young guys to watch learn under BJ won't be hard. Yeah, no, I agree, Flex. I mean, and I think that's exactly what it was. I think it's somebody he knew would kind of follow suit, and he would do
Grunt
what
work.
was asked of him. At the same time, I believe that like guys like Al Harris, I think the Steelers' interest is real, Brennan. I think it's a real possibility, and I know that Mike McCarthy or not Mike. And Mike McCarthy and Al Harris have a pass together, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if Al Harris decides to take that defensive coordinator job. I think there's some real steam behind that one. That one has legs.
Yeah, again, that's a coach. The Declan Doyle thing to me is a little less like Al Harris is a guy I would really really hate to lose. I really would. Al Harris and Randall L. Not only do they bring an energy and their players, coaches, the players seem to really really respect these guys. Not so like you can say they love them. I don't know the nature of that relationship. They respect these guys because these guys did it well when they did it, and Al Harris did wonders with a patched up, band-aided secondary the entire year. And yes, I mean, we could say in coverage they just weren't very good. There was no lockdown or anything like that. But these guys took the ball away at the highest rate in the NFL, and he was working with backups. And that leads me to our next piece of news, Kyle, which is Nashawn Wright was selected to the Pro Bowl because somebody else opted not to do it. Maybe Nashawn Wright will do the same. I mean, it's a free trip to wherever it is now, Hawaii, but I probably wouldn't go. But it is deserved. I think there was a lot of Bears fans that were really upset that Nashawn Wright wasn't selected to as an All Pro player. I thought that was a bit of a stretch because you got to be good on in coverage if you're going to be one of the best corners in the NFL as far as everyone else is concerned. But Kyle, what do you make? Does Nashawn Wright deserve to be in the Pro Bowl? Are you happy for him? I know it's a guy you don't really want to bring back.
I mean, to be honest with you, Brandon, and I say this, I don't want to be insulting, but I really don't care. I just to me, the Pro Bowl is
Oh,
is
it's a
is
joke.
it's a celebrity contest.
Shadeur Sanders is
He's
in the
got,
Pro Bowl.
Bert, I do think he's going to go. I think he's going to go because a guy who was started the season on the Viking practice squad to now getting an opportunity to have his name on the
Get
back of his
paid.
jersey in a Pro Bowl game. And yeah, obviously you're getting more notoriety, so the league takes a closer look at you. But yeah, I mean, do I think that he deserves to be an All Pro? Absolutely not. I mean, listen, guys, we saw this. Nashawn Wright is Trayvon Diggs all over again. We saw Trayvon Diggs had that amazing season where he had what 9, 10 interceptions in one season. He led the
And
league
he had
that
like
season.
4 pick sixes that season.
Yeah, and he at the same time he gave up a lot of big plays that season, but he was opportunistic. He took the ball away. But since then, since they re-signed him to that massive contract, and now he's now been cut and was signed by the Packers and cut again, he just hasn't been that good. The fact of the matter is, if you're not good in coverage and you give up big plays, and every single time the ball's thrown your way, you allow a completion. If you're not getting those takeaways, then you become utterly useless. And that's no disrespect to Nashawn Wright
You
because he was
become
a
a
big part of
liability.
this. Yeah, he was a big part of the Bears team, and I like what he did this season. I think it's the best story in the NFL, or at least up there. But if you're talking about keeping him here for long term for a lot of money, no, I wouldn't. I don't want Nashawn Wright anywhere near this team. I am happy that he made a Pro Bowl. I'm happy for him. He seems like a really good
And
dude.
you deserved it, right? I think he did. I mean, like
Well, the most
there are multiple
forced
plays I can
turnovers in
think
the
back to
NFL.
where, I mean, the Packers game where that guy took the ball away, like in the Eagles where he stripped. I mean, he made some really impressive football plays that altered some of the games in this Bears season. So I will always be grateful and appreciative of the season that Nashawn Wright had. But you're correct, Kyle. I mean, if a guy is his strength is taking the ball away and he stops doing that even for a stretch of games, he's just a liability. And you're playing in a division with some quality wide receivers. You can't have a guy who can't cover on your football team if he's not going to contribute in the way that he was. So I do believe that he deserved to go to the Pro Bowl. He did not deserve to be an All Pro player. He deserved to go to the Pro Bowl. I thought that he should have been a first selection or at least close to it. But I I do think that he's probably not a guy that you want as your answer opposite Jalen Johnson in the future
Maybe a
for sure.
backup, but he's not going to ask for backup money. And real
No,
quick,
he's not. No, he's
breaking
not.
news. Bruce says Eric Stutzville is a possibility for the Bears at running back coach. He does have some familiarity with the organization. with Ben Johnson. I believe that he's probably on the list. I've heard that Matt Forte is also on the list for Bears running back coach. I don't know if that was just a rumor, if that's something they're actually looking into. And Aunt Mass asked the question, Brendan, what hurts more losing, Bieniemy or Al Harris? I mean, I'd have to go Al Harris. And listen, that's no disrespect to Eric Bieniemy because I love him, and I think he did a really good job with Kyle Guy and DeAndre Swift. I mean, this is the best year of DeAndre Swift's career, but at the end of the day, guys, you put really good athletes at running back, and they'll find a way to make plays. We saw what Al Harris did with guys like Nation, right? Nick McLeod, guys who other teams didn't think belonged on a football field, and they come to the Bears and they're leading the league in takeaways. I mean, that's
Well, what's funny too is
I
that
think
both guys,
there's a lot
those
of
are the
merit to Al Harris is being looked at as a realistic candidate to be a defense coordinator because I think he's earned it.
what's funny too is Aunt Mass is both those guys were assistant head coaches for football teams as well. So I think, I don't know who's worse, Bieniemy or Harris. I think those are major blows, and I think it's going to be. You can't underplay how important it'll be for Ben Johnson to replace those two guys with good people. This has been my take since I started watching football. It's not about who you lose, guys. We know this business. Kyle, we just talked about it. Good football teams, good coaching staffs get plucked. The coaching poaching, right? This is the carousel, whatever you want to fucking call it. This happens every year, and it's important. Look at that Detroit Lions football team. I talked about this all offseason. It is more important than to losing a guy is less important than who you hire. And losing a guy is always going to happen. So you've got to be good at identifying talent, especially young talent, because like when you're filling these coordinator roles, you're not usually. I don't know that Ben Johnson's the guy who's going to go looking for previously fired coordinators. I would imagine he's going to look for a guy who is doing something like Al Harris. I think the
Well,
next
I mean,
offensive coordinator is going to be a Declan Doyle if Declan Doyle leaves. You know what I mean?
Eric Bieniemy is almost the opposite, right? Eric Bieniemy was an offensive coordinator. He was getting
And he
realistic.
was the running game coordinator, which is important.
And he was getting realistic. He did get a realistic shot at head coach in the NFL. He had multiple interviews. I mean, I don't know who he's going to replace him with, young, old, experienced, not experienced. I can tell you this, though. I know that Ben's learned enough to probably try to help out in those areas first and foremost. Dennis Allen's the consummate professional. So whoever they decide to replace Al Harris with, if he does get hired away from the Bears, I think they'll do a good job replacing him. And the same for Eric Bieniemy, man. I think you saw the staff that Ben Johnson built as a rookie, a guy who really didn't know what he was doing going into his first year. I'm almost certain that he'll be even better the next time around when he's hiring somebody to replace them. Now, that's not saying that maybe Eric Bieniemy is the best running back coach in the world. I don't know. Maybe there's nobody out there better than him. But I do think that I trust Ben Johnson a lot, and I think he'll do a damn good job replacing some of these guys in the offseason. I think he did it the first time around, and he can certainly do it the second time around. Ant Mass says sucks, but good coaches should stay minimum 3 years. LOL. Yeah. Yeah, like Brendan said, it's a dog eat dog world in the NFL, guys. If teams see that you're successful, especially a snap of a finger like the Bears were, how quickly they turn this thing around, then obviously this coaching staff's going to get some interest, and they have. Flex Dig says Nation Wright provided the best bang for the buck on the team. He was taken off the Vikings practice squad. What a find! We need more guys punching above their weight class like him. I agree 100%. Because I'm not
Jackson
upset with
too.
Nation Wright. I just would say to the Bears, be very
Kyle
wary of
fucking
giving that
hates
guy
this
a
guy.
long contract extension before. I mean, listen, if those takeaways, and obviously a lot of them were Nation Wright he made some really good plays. A couple of them did fall in his lap, like week 1 against the Vikings. That was a bad pass that almost any corner in the NFL should jump that route and pick it off and return for a touchdown. If those turnovers don't continue, how do you assess Nation Wright as a corner if he's not leading the league in forced turnovers? I mean, not very good, right? And I'm not saying that because I have anything against Nation Wright. I like the guy, but go look at his PFF scores. Go look at his StatCast scores if you don't like PFF. He was one of the lowest ranked corners in the NFL in terms of coverage. He's just not that guy. He's not Jalen Johnson. He's not Kyler Gordon. He doesn't make your team a whole lot better. He just is a guy who is very opportunistic. And if you put the ball in a bad spot, he'll take it away from you. But if those turnovers goes down, like they did Trayvon Diggs the year after he got paid by the Dallas Cowboys, now all you have is a corner who's making way too much money and really isn't that good at his job.
Yeah, but kudos to him. Hats off, guys. Nation Wright, Pro Bowl. He gets to go have himself a little vacation. Kyle, let's talk about. And I don't know, are these trades or potential free agents? I believe both are free agents, right? And ETN and Hendrickson.
Yeah, well, I mean, so these are rumors that have been circling around the NFL, and obviously some of this stuff is validated, some of this stuff has merit
Some of the
because
stuff is
these
things that fans want to
yeah these
happen. That's
teams
where these
these
things start.
these teams do talk to reporters more than people think, and some of this stuff is validated.
I
These
think the
teams come out with
Crosby
rumors.
thing is real.
Yeah, Brennan, before we go into any of those guys, we can break down these position groups one by one, but let me go over the salary cap for anybody who doesn't know. So this is just, and I'm not saying anybody out there is dumb or anything, but a lot of people just don't look into this stuff. So this is going to be the Bears salary cap situation this offseason 2026 going into free agency. Based on the over the cap salary cap calculator, the Bears cap liability for 2026 are right around the projected NFL cap threshold, which that means what that means, Brennan, is total cap liability. So you're talking about your top 51 players. So every team across the board, they use their top 51 players. The Bears will have to pay out their top 51 signed players this year $300.36 million. The
It's not that
the
bad.
total the salary cap projected for 2026. So this is after they raise the salary cap again. This is what the projected salary cap is. I think it was 279 last year. They're projecting it around 299.8 million this year. So that basically means they're projecting it to go up around 21 or 20 to 21. I think it'll go up to about 22, $23 million. So they'll have a little bit more wiggle room. But basically, at the end of the day, the Bears will be around $3 million under the cap before rookie contracts are included. So that you're talking about before they draft this next class 2026 and pay those rookies, they have $3 million under the cap. So which means basically the Bears are in trouble. I mean, if the Bears don't do some major cuts or some major restructuring, they're not going to have any money to spend in free agency. And then Brennan, like we've heard Ryan Poles say in the past, you also need some wiggle room going into the season. That's how they sign guys like CJ Gardner-Johnson in the middle of the season. You need to have some leftover money. So the Bears they have to find a way to clear some salary cap. Right now, we'll go. We can go through this by position. So, right now, the Bears unrestricted free agents in the secondary going into 2026. The unrestricted free agents: Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker, Elijah Hicks, Jonathan Owens, Nick McLeod, Nashawn Wright, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and Jalen Jones. So, you guys, as of this point, I don't believe the Bears have a single safety under contract going into 2026, not one. So I'll repeat it. Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker, Elijah Hicks, and Jonathan Owens are all going to be free agents. So, Brandon, first and foremost, in terms of your overall assessment of 2025 and how the secondary performed, which is obviously tough to do considering they were banged up the entire season, how much assets, how much do you think the Bears should put into the offseason? How much of that do you think they should put into the secondary?
Well, I think you got to re-sign one of these two guys, one of these guys that started for you. And I would imagine that Dennis Allen is going to want the captain back. That's always how it works, guys. He's an all-pro player. Kevin Byard is an all-pro player. He's an all-pro player,
Led the league in interceptions.
and he is your captain. He's the guy that's out there in the coin toss with Joe Tooney and Grady Jarrett and Cairo Santos. So I mean, he's coming back, Kyle. I firmly believe that. And then in regards to, I think you need some more safeties, Kyle. I think you have to get some undrafted. You're gonna have to maybe bring one of these guys, like what's his name, John Owens. Somebody who's not going to cost you a lot of money. You're gonna have to bring one of these, Elijah Hicks. Bring one of these guys back. They're not going to cost a lot of money, but you're probably going to sign some undrafted free agents at the position, and then the corner thing, man. I mean, you're banking on health, which how where I don't love it because you've got Terrell Smith, who you expect to come back and be healthy. You got Zay Frazier, who you expect to come back and whatever. I don't know if it was health. I don't whatever was going on there. You expect to be better, and then you have Johnson, who suffered an injury this year, and you've got Stevenson. I mean,
Well,
I would
Gordon has more health issues than
and
anybody.
Kyler too, yeah. And Kyler's just the guy. I mean, you would love to believe that position is the nickel position is just locked and loaded, but it's not. So yeah, you're gonna need a lot of players in the secondary, Kyle. I don't think they're gonna spend a lot of assets on it.
Well, I agree, Bernard. I think it's for in terms of corner for me personally, and a lot of people might disagree with me because of the injury woes. But you guys, I like our secondary where it's at. I like if you get Smith back healthy coming off that torn ACL. Zay Frazier obviously should play at some point this season. We heard Ryan Post talk about that in his postseason press conference. I think Jalen Johnson comes back healthy. If you look at his career in totality, he's actually been a pretty healthy player in totality. If you look at Kyler Gordon, that's the guy that worries me the most. Not obviously, certainly not because of his skill, guys. I believe Kyler Gordon is probably the best a secondary player on the Chicago Bears. But now you have to start considering some of these injuries. He played 3 games last season, and this is becoming a pattern for him. So you definitely would probably want to draft it, or at least pick up in free agency or undrafted free agent at least one corner to back one of these guys up. Or maybe they decide to re-sign Nation Wright as a backup, and he's willing to take that money. I don't know. But the one that does worry me the most, guys, is the safety position. Like I said, as it stands right now, guys, there is not a single safety under contract for the Chicago Bears next season. If I agree with Brennan, and if you heard Ryan Poles' presser, they're probably not going to re-sign both of them. The writing is kind of on the wall.
Brisker's going to get the bag, Kyle. Somebody's going to pay Brisker a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's not going to be the Bears.
No, it's not.
I think Kevin Byard is probably the guy the Bears would prefer. First of all, you guys, just due to his age, he's going to be the cheaper of the two because you're going to get a lot of control over Jaquan Brisker. You're going to have him for the next 4 or 5, 6 years. Kevin Byard's not going to look for a contract like that. He's already 32 years old, so he'll probably be looking for a 1 year, 2 year contract. And this guy's been an All-Pro 3 of the last 4 seasons, and he's notorious for taking the ball away. And he led the league in the interceptions again last year, even at his age. If for me personally, I like what everybody in the chat here is saying. Brisker is just kind of, to me, he's just better at the line of scrimmage. He's a very physical safety. He's better at tackling. But when it comes to coverage, he's very spotty. He gives up leaky plays. If I'm the Bears,
he's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, but he's had good games. I mean, it just depends on how athletic the tight end or running back is that he's covering. I personally would like to see them bring Kevin Byard back. I think he's the more valuable of the two. And like I said, I don't think he's going to cost a ton. I think you could probably get Kevin Byard on a 1 year deal somewhere around $8, $9, $10 million. I know that sounds like a lot, but let's face it, guys. Every single season, these guys reset the market. They're all going to get paid a ton. Right? We know Jaquan Brisker is going to get overpaid, even regardless who pays him. That's not to say he's not going to be a good player, but he's going to get more money than he probably should.
I think he's going to get more money than he should.
I think Brisker is probably almost a done deal at this point, Brennan. I mean, due to all the concussion injuries and everything else that happened, I just don't think that they're willing to put that much money into him, and I don't think they're willing to give him a long-term deal. So I think Brisker will be playing elsewhere in 2026. I think Kevin Byard should be a top priority for the Chicago Bears, and they should try to find a way to get back here. That's just me personally. Like I said, but in terms of the corner,
listen, I want to be on record, guys. I would be completely okay with re-signing Jaquan Brisker. I would. Like, if there was a deal to get done, I'd do it. I thought he came on really strong at the end of the year and started to look like the guy he was when we first drafted him. When his rookie season, he was a monster. Kyler Gordon was the guy that actually really struggled through his rookie year up until the last 4 weeks of the season, which he was probably the best. I said to you guys that season, he's the best defensive player on this football team over the last 4 weeks.
I remember he broke his hand his rookie season, so he had kind of he didn't have as much time to get used to the NFL and let everything kind of slow down. Remember, he missed I think the first 6 games. I think he broke his hand in week 1, missed 6 games after that. But
good.
I mean, Bernard, at the end of the day, I agree. I agree.
We just did a twin thing, man.
There's one person. There's one chat in here I agree with wholeheartedly, and it's here. Romy says, draft a safety in the 2nd or 3rd round, play along with Byard. I agree 100%, man. I think it's time for the Bears to really address this defense in the draft, and I'd like to see a young safety on a rookie
mid-round pick, Romy. I like a mid-round pick. I like a 3rd or a 4th. I'm okay with taking. I think Ryan Poles' scouting department has done a really good job with secondary. I think Terrell Smith is a good player. I think that Zay Frazier has the potential to be a very good player. Brisker was a good player. You know, he had his ups and his downs like all young players do. This scouting department has done a really good job at drafting players in the secondary. I think Tyreek Stevenson's a good football player. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if they just don't like the guy personally. But I really think Stevenson, when he played, was the most lockdown man corner that you had. And I said before the season, this is your best press man cover guy. And he was. And I think Stevenson needs to be a part of your future. But I'm okay with them taking late round draft picks in the secondary. Right, Kyle?
Yeah, not even necessarily late round. Like, Bert, how many 3rd round safeties were drafted this year? And they all look really damn good.
3rd or 4th really good. Is okay with me. And what do we trade? What did we trade for that Tryon Chinka? Trade a player or a pick?
Oh, it was a pick. I believe it was a 6th-round pick, but don't quote me. And remember, the Bears
That better
draft
not have been a 6th-round pick.
well, but the Bears draft is not set in stone because for instance, Bernard, if Ian Cunningham gets hired away from the Bears, they'll get 2 3rd-round compensatory picks. So we have no at this point right now. We know they have what their 7 draft picks, but we don't know what's gonna happen before the draft. So right now we have no idea what's going to be available to the Bears in the draft. But I agree with you guys. I mean, Brennan, I'm with you. I don't think you need to draft a safety in the 1st round. Would I like a Nick Emanwari? Oh, 100%, absolutely. I think that guy's going to end up being one of the best players in football. He's kind of a Brian Branch type player. He can kind of do everything. But if you're talking about grooming a young safety, putting back the next Kevin Byard, so Kevin Byard could kind of teach him the ways of the secondary, I'm fine with a 2nd or 3rd round pick. I mean, I think we both agree, Brennan, that this offseason is going to be defense, correct?
Visual Joe, I think C.J. Gardner-Johnson kind of exposed himself for why he's often tossed around this league. I mean, he makes plays. This entire defense, Kyle, was just loaded with guys who made plays in the ball. They got sacks. This secondary, I should say, but terrible in coverage. Just inexcusably bad in
Well,
coverage.
not
CJ
Jalen.
Gardner Johnson got destroyed in the playoffs, or preceding the playoffs. He was just getting burned.
Yeah, and coming off a major injury. So, when it comes to Jalen, I take the bigger samples. Are you talking about CJ?
Yeah, CJ
Oh,
Gardner
CJ was
Johnson.
awful. CJ was awful all year, but I mean, he had the
Visual
sacks.
Joe said bring him back as a safety. That guy just can't keep up with
No, I
people.
don't want CJ
He
Gardner.
just can't keep up. He's got
You guys,
no speed.
there's a reason he was on 3 teams in one season. Obviously, if he was a stud, an absolute stud, a Pro Bowler type caliber player, then people would have ignored the on-field antics and they would have signed him. He's just
I
not
would bring Jalen
I
Jones
don't
back.
want CJ Gardner Johnson back. But Vernon, here's your answer to that question. That trade with the Browns, the Bears got a 7th, or the Bears got a 7th, and what's Tyrone Shinko, whatever his name is, and we gave them a 6th.
Man, that's well. I get this coaching. Ben Johnson proved that the 7th-round pick is not irrelevant to him. So I guess that's
so
right.
everybody in the chat, let's hear you. What do you guys think? Would you guys rather see Byard or Brisker resign? If you guys listen to Ryan Pohl's presser, it sounds like only one of those guys is going to be back with the Chicago Bears. So we'd love to hear
What are you thinking about? You think about the future? Like you just said, Kyle, you can lock Brisker down. But that's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal. Yeah, and it's going to be a big contract. Brisker is going to get paid. Brisker played good enough football over the course of his 4-year rookie tenure to get himself some money, guys.
Well, Brennan, in the chat, Romy says Byard. Breaking news, Bruce said Byard. I know a couple of people earlier said Byard. I have to look back to see what it was. J2K, what's up? How you doing, man? Welcome to the show. All right, Brennan. So let's not get too long-winded here.
Yeah, the secondary. Yeah, we're done with that.
The undrafted free agents for the Bears defensive line going into the 2026 season is Dominic Robinson, Chris Williams, and Andrew Billings. So, would you like to see any of those guys back next year?
No. We can kill this one real quick. I mean, well, this unit is the worst. Sorry, I'm ahead of myself.
Brennan, by the way, real quick, by the way, I forgot to mention that PFF, this is where the Bears got the harshest grades. They said they weren't good in runs, stopping the run, and they were good at getting after.
They were egregious. I mean, the trenches is where these football games are won, and they got smoked all season long. And Billings, Kyle, they said he added weight, but in a muscular way. He didn't look like the same guy to me. That's when he was actually on the field.
Dwayne also says Byard. So does Dante. They all say, everybody's saying Byard. This is an unanimous Byard.
I'm signing the All-Pro. I said that in the beginning of that entire conversation. The guy was an All-Pro player this year. There was 3 of them on your team. He was, and one of them was a second-team All-Pro. Byard and Joe Thuney were the only first-team All-Pro players on your football team, and he's your captain. And I said this before the season. We did a show about who's going to be the captains of this football team. I said one guy that will remain is Kevin Byard, because the minute he got into the locker room as a newly signed free agent, he was already in charge of it. And that just says a lot to me about a guy. And he was already giving the speech, putting the fist up, go team. He was doing that stuff. So like
Well, he's a
this,
motivator. He's a
yeah,
player's coach. And if you listen to all the young safeties, even when they had guys like Major Burns here, the undrafted free agent in the offseason, one asked about who was helping them come along in the NFL and who's helping them kind of catch up to NFL speed. They all answered the same. Kevin Byard. To me personally, guys, it's not even a competition. Sean says, if I knew I was getting playoff Brisker, I'd resign him, but that's no guarantee. So Byard, yeah, I agree with you 100%. That was by far Brisker's best game of his career
Brisker is
against
a
the Rams.
far
That was
more
absolutely
aggressive.
a different player.
Well, and I guess you could ask, you could also kind of, if you would really want to like hyperanalyze this debate, like what position do you find more important? Because Byard is a very much a free safety, and Brisker is very much a damn near linebacker, strong safety. He's aggressive. He's physical. Byard's a little more loose, plays light on his feet. He takes the ball away at high rate.
It's
So like
faster.
what is more, and he can cover downfield, Byard, but he's sneaky. He disguises himself well and he's able to pick the ball off that way. So what's more important to you, the cover guy or the run stuffer? I think that's the question you really got to ask yourself when it comes to which guy you prefer to be re-signed, because they're both going to, like Kyle said, they're both going to hit you at a $10 million mark a year.
Well,
It's not going to be cheap.
yeah, let's talk about this defensive line though more, because Brennan, you said to you this is where you'd put most of your assets in the
Oh, it's
offseason, is
ass.
defensive
It's
line.
complete and
Fizzo
utter
Joe
ass.
agrees with you. It says defensive tackle is most important. So whether you're talking
That's
about
why.
pass
That's
rusher,
why I'm saying safety can be addressed middle round, right, Kyle?
I agree. I agree 100%.
Let's go.
We
Let's go
saw,
heavy.
Brennan, how many good safeties do we see get drafted in the second, third, fourth round last year? A lot of safeties who made immediate impacts on their teams as rookies who got drafted in the third and fourth
I
round
think
last
the
year. So.
Packers took one, didn't it?
J2K, I hate to say this. Because I actually thought he had a much better season than people thought, but I would not re-sign Don Robb. That's just me personally. And I understand you have to fill the 53-man roster. You have to have guys who aren't going to be stars. They have to fill roster
Well,
holes.
he's
I
probably
get it.
cheap.
But
He won't cost you anything. You need some
uh,
guys.
and you got to look at his 4 years in totality, right? You can't just be like, oh, he had a pretty
Yeah, but
decent
Dennis
season last
Allen
year.
liked him.
Look at all those guys. All his entire career, he just wasn't that good. Sean says you got to go with the coverage guy in the secondary because they're going to build up front to stop the run. Yeah, I agree with you, Sean.
And also the captain thing to me is very important. So I'll say this: the captain thing is very important to the guys who will decide which one they bring back. I mean, the Ryan Poles, the Dennis Allens, and Ben Johnsons of the world. Being a captain on your football team means a lot. It does, and Matt Eberflus treated it like it didn't. You get a captain, and you get there's a captain under everyone's seat in the audience. But like, you can't have 9 captains. These guys are guys who clearly show a leadership quality. There's not that many of them in the world. There's not that many of them on an NFL football team. Cairo Santos got it because special teams, you got to throw it to somebody.
He's old.
Got to throw a dog a bone. Could have been Travis Homer, but I think the captain thing will outweigh anything else. I believe when it comes to these guys trying to analyze or evaluate that decision. Kyle,
I like
defensive line.
this one. Devon Howell to be an interesting option safety. I agree with Phil. Yeah, Brennan Romy asked the question. He said, let me go back up here, see if I could find it real quick. But basically, he's asking, have you looked at the defensive tackles in the first round of the draft? We have, Romy. We've all done a little bit of research into the draft already. But we will be doing the draft and those shows, the draft projection shows later on down the road, probably in the next couple of weeks here, and we'll start breaking down some of the guys in the draft for you. But right now, we're going to try to focus on like who the Bears free agents are, how much of their assets should they put into those certain position groups, and who's available for them to sign or re-sign as a free agent. In terms of those defensive tackle or defensive line positions we talked about, guys, Dom Robb, Andrew Billings, and Chris Williams. Dom Robb is the only one I would consider bringing back because, like Brennan said, I think Andrew Billings just got one of those guys who kind of fell off the face of the earth pretty quick there, man. He had a really good season his first year with the Bears, and ever since then, it's just kind of gone downhill. And like Brennan said, he really didn't look like he was in shape to me. He looked like he was overweight, and he kind of tried to use that to his playing style, but he just wasn't the same guy. If I had to bring back one of those guys, it's going to be Dom Robb. But obviously, you guys, if the Bears are going to address the pass rush or the defensive end position using a ton of assets in the offseason, a ton of money, I would I would say that let guys like Dom Rob go and go find your Trey Hendrickson or your Max Crosby or your Joey Bosa, and one of those type of guys. But I certainly, I mean, Dom Rob would not be on the top of my priority list. But I don't know what do you think, Bern?
Like I said, if the guy's cheap as I assume he's going to be, I would not. What he's comfortable with the system. Dennis Allen liked Dominic Robinson. That's important to note because I don't know that Dominic Robinson would have made this roster at all based on the 3 years he had prior to this one. It was an infatuation from your defensive coordinator that even kept this guy around, and he did like him. He put him out there early in the season where he failed, Kyle, once again. But by the end of the year, he was a much better football player. Now, is Dominic Robinson on like a priority list? Like if he goes out there and thinks he's going to get money, like I no, not a chance. So it would all depend on whether or not this guy's asking for or going to get paid what he's worth based on what he's done. I pay people on production. I don't pay people on projection, and that's something Ryan Poles has been caught under fire doing. So like I think that it's important that you keep some perspective on guys, the good versus bad when it comes to Dominic Robinson, right? The pros cons list. You got a very long con list and a very small sample size of pros, so you can't pay this guy more than he's worth. We can't be just bringing people back to bring them back.
I don't know if he'd take minimum. Probably pretty close to it. I think the NFL minimum rate right now is about $900,000. I think Dom Rob would probably ask for, at least incentive wise, he'd ask for a little bit more than that, probably somewhere around 1.2, 1.3 million. But yeah, I mean, Brennan, if you're talking about like a rotational piece of backup, a guy like we have to fill a 53-man roster, we have to get defensive ends from somewhere, I'm fine with it. But if you're talking about bringing Dom Rob back to play a major role on this defense, I'm out, guys. I think there's so many better options out there. And Brennan, real quick.
Well, there's nothing, Kyle, hold on. There's nothing implying that Dominic Robinson could handle a large role on any defense. He is a very, very, very role player kind of guy. I mean, that's something I think we all agree on. Hopefully, the people in the chat as well. This guy has a very stern purpose, and when it's not being served, if the play ain't calling for it, he should not be on the field.
Yeah, and I agree with what Scottish Bear says. Don Rob flashed in the last two games. He's been undressed most of the time in Chicago. I watched him whiff in the first game against the Packers, or the first two games against the Packers. He will be on practice squad in 2026. Like I said, Scottish, I don't know if he's going to be on a practice squad. He probably will be a rotational player somewhere, but he's not at the top of my priority list. I would not.
Rotational. That's the word I was looking for. That is what he is. He is
I would
never
not put
going to be
too much money into a guy like Dominic Robinson. He had 4 years to prove he could play in the NFL. He hasn't impressed me in any way, shape, or form. He's had flashes here and there, but if you give guys long enough, everybody's going to have flashes. These guys are drafted in the NFL for a reason. They belong here, but he's just not a star, and he's never going to.
Well, he's got the physique of a professional defensive end in the NFL.
I'm not sure a lot of guys do.
Sure. But Kyle, I want to ask you this. Since we're on this I'll throw this question in here now. We're on the weakest link here. The weakest unit of the Chicago Bears last season was the entire defensive line, and you can in either pass or rush, whatever you want to say. They sucked, and they made it much. And listen, I want to say this: since we passed the secondary, I think those guys are better than they are than they probably appear to be after the season they had. I think this unit up front was so fucking bad that they didn't stand a chance back there, dude. That's what I firmly believe. But is this what is your greatest position of need for the Chicago Bears moving into this offseason? Is it on this defensive line? And if so, which position is it?
I mean, for me personally, Brennan, it's defensive tackle. I think Austin Booker's only going to get better. I think he's going to be a much better player next year. And listen, I'm not saying that Austin Booker and Montez Sweat are the answer at defensive end guys. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're asking me to prioritize one over the other,
they were the best
defensive tackle. I think their best defensive tackle right now is Grady Jarrett, followed very slim margin over Javon Dexter. But I just don't think either of those guys are like studs who are going to take over a game at any given moment. And they both struggle to upset the timing of the offense. They both struggle to collapse the pocket on the quarterback. The Bears need a guy like that. Every good defense in the NFL has a guy like that. It's time for the Bears to go get theirs. And we saw them pass up on a guy like Jalen Carter due to his off-field issues. They decided to go with Javon Dexter, and they're still paying for it. So it's time for the Bears to seriously consider drafting a 3 technique in the first round. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but Sean put it in the chat here that a lot of the defensive tackles in this draft seem to be more project guys, so the Bears might lean towards defensive end. But if there is a guy who falls to the Bears late
There's
in
a
the
lot
draft,
of edge rushers in this
there's a
draft.
damn good three technique. That would be the way I would go, guys. Now, listen, I'm used to the traditional defense like we have with Matt Eberflus. Dennis Allen runs a different style of defense. He's more about size than he is particular positions. You want guys who can do everything. So I don't know exactly what Dennis Allen will be looking for in terms of defensive tackle. Is it a guy like Jalen Carter, or is it a guy who can move around like we saw him draft through Shamar Turner, who could play the outside, he could play the inside, he could play all over the place. I don't know. That remains to be seen. I'm sure we'll talk about a lot of these guys in the next coming weeks here in the draft and free agency. But if I'm the Bears, my number one priority this offseason is going to be 3 technique.
Well, yeah, and I agree with you. And I want you guys to evaluate something over the course of this last season that we just watched. Okay. This position can affect more than you probably even think it will. Montez Sweat and Austin Booker had pretty aggressive year. I mean, they were they were beating people. Like I thought they were the best players on the line in its entirety. But when you don't have that guy, well, first of all, let me say this: the 4 teams that were in the NFC and AFC championship games were the teams with the best. Dustin shared this with us, Kyle, in a text. The teams with the 4 best ranked defensive tackle duos in the NFL. So it's important that guy, if the Bears are getting pressure around the edge, guys, between Booker and Sweat, which they were showing towards the end of that season, they could get there. But you have this gaping hole of a pocket because these guys in the middle cannot get any pass rush whatsoever, any pressure. It blows the whole thing. Because then the guys who are coming around the edge just got to be pushed back. They just got to be pushed outside. You just got to stay inside them because there's nothing coming up front. And then when it comes to the run, it's even worse. These guys, Dexter is getting pushed 3-4 yards off the line as soon as the ball is snapped. So even if Montez Sweat, Kyle, who you've praised for years, is a good edge setter, he's a good run defender, and Booker, I thought, was developing at this as well. He made a lot of tackles in the run game. It's useless. You don't have to worry about setting an edge if you're an offense, if you're trying to run the ball against the Bears. It doesn't matter. Because these guys, so Javon Dexter and Andrew Billings' inability to make any kind of impact in the game was really hurting probably Booker and Sweat the most. That's who probably suffered the most because of that.
Grady Jarrett was good in the playoffs. He was really good in the playoffs. He stuck out a bunch in the playoffs. He made a couple of splash plays. He was creating pressure. But yeah, I mean, Javon Dexter, at this point, I like Dexter. I think he's a good rotational piece, but he's just not that stud. And like you said, Vernon, you're talking about these teams in the playoffs. They all have that dominant 3 technique. They all do. Every team that's good has really good defense in the NFL has that guy up the middle who disrupts the timing of the offense. And the Bears haven't had one in a long time. It's time for them to address that. I mean, honestly, Tommy Harris, who's the last guy you could remember? I mean, I liked what's his name, Akeem Hicks, a lot, but he was, I don't know if I'd consider him one of the best 3 techniques in the NFL. He was very good at upsetting the timing of the offense, but he kind of seemed like to me
when he played in the 3-4, so he was really just like he was everything. He was a good player, man. He was a very.
I don't think, Brennan. Let me ask you this: I believe the Deo signing is a miss. I think that's a terrible signing by.
Oh, it's definitely a miss.
Kyle,
I said it was a miss when they fucking signed him.
So did I. But Grady Jarrett, I think Grady Jarrett serves a purpose on the Chicago Bears. I think he's a damn good rotational piece.
He's coming back.
I think he's a good players coach. I think he's good for the locker room. I think he's good for young players being drafted. I think it's tough for defensive tackles to develop in this league, and I think he would help them. I think Jarrett deserves to be on this team at least for one more year. Now, listen, if they want to get out of that last year of his contract after 2026 season, I'm all for it. But I would keep Grady Jarrett here for one more season. If Deo is a guy who there's no way you can get out of that contract, but if somehow, some way, some shape, form you could, that would be the first guy to go to me, man. You guys. Personally, when I watched the Bears, even when Deo was healthy, I couldn't even tell he was on the field. I never heard his name. I think he had a decent game against the Vikings in week 1. And after that, he just disappeared. And that kind of seems to be who Deo is. I mean, they signed him coming off the season of 3.5 sacks. And if you go watch the highlight film of him getting those 3.5 sacks the year prior, all 3.5 sacks were against the Texans, and they had the worst offensive line in football. I mean, I agree with you, Bern, what you said earlier. Stop signing guys based off projections and start signing guys based off production. If you want a guy with 10.5 sacks, then sign a guy who's had 10.5 sacks. For me, it's that simple. I mean, I know it's
Yeah, I know,
easier
because
said
people
than
keep
done.
saying like, who could be the next Max Crosby? Like, if you want Max Crosby,
Then go get Max Crosby.
don't make the fucking offer. And I do believe, even more so than Trey Hendrickson, Kyle. Now that we're on the defensive line, I do believe a Max Crosby thing is being discussed between the Bears and the Raiders. I do, and I don't know that they can even do that now because
Well,
they're looking for a coach, right? Did they hire They don't have a coach, right?
no, not yet. We do know
I thought Mike Tomlin, man, would have been perfect for that
they did.
organization.
They scheduled an interview with Mike McDaniel. So Mike McDaniel is going to interview with the Raiders, and he was talking a couple of days ago about how much structure they have and how great they are. So I think there is a mutual respect amongst the two. I don't know if he's going to take that job or not, but right now it looks like all signs point to Mike McDaniel, and I think there is a relationship between him and Tom Brady. And I read it somewhere. I don't remember off kilter. I don't remember exactly what the relationship is, but he does know Tom Brady in some way, shape, or form. Brandon, real quick before we move on to the next position group, Erica says cut Edmonds now. So I want to go over this stuff real quick.
Well,
guys.
hold on. Well, not linebackers. I want to say one more thing about this defensive line, dude. I mean, this is the worst unit. We got to talk about this unit, guys. This is where you need to allocate mostly all of your resources, and you need to treat this defensive line the way that Ryan Poles treated the offensive line in the last offseason. I look at this line as a bunch of replacement level players. I like Booker is a young guy. He aspires to be something more. You can see he's got a high motor. Sweat's costing an awful lot of money. So I'm okay with the Bears doing anything to this line. If Ryan Poles wants to go trade for a Max Crosby while also spending some draft capital on guys, if go try to sign a free agent that you know is an impact player. I don't know what the free agency looks like at either the tackle or edge position, but it is time to start making this the Chicago Bears
Burn real quick.
that we've all watched our entire lives, guys. The guys,
Burn,
the
real quick.
monster pass rush.
Let me just answer this chat real quick. Vizzo Joy says McDaniel signed with the Chargers OC. Yeah, Vizzo, when he signed that contract with the Chargers to be OC, part of the contract stipulation was if he gets offered a head coach job elsewhere in the offseason, he's allowed to take. He's allowed to take that coach. So he's not. It's not a done deal. And in LA now, if he decides he doesn't want to be head coach this time around and he wants to be an offensive coordinator, yes, he has the Chargers job, but he still can take a job as a head coach if he'd like.
Yeah, real quick. Philip says this is a deep DL draft. It is, guys. And there's a guy I really like named Anthony Vincent from Duke. I think he had like 8.5 sacks, and he's not really talked about. I would imagine this guy will fall to bottom second round, high third. I really like the kid. I think the Bears need to. He's a small guy, but he's like a Micah. He's an impact player. He's like a Jalan Walker. Kyle, who's the kid that Falcons drafted?
Walker.
Jalen Walker. But I think Anthony could be kind of the same player. But yeah, let's move on to these linebackers, man.
Well, so you guys
have a lot to talk about here.
I'm glad that Erica brought up Tremaine Edmonds, because the Bears this season, you guys, they only have one free agent linebacker, or they have two free agent linebackers, but one is restricted. So Noah Sewell is a restricted exclusive rights free agent. So the Bears can't, if they want him, they get first picks. They can sign him before he has a chance to sign with everybody else. The guy who is an unrestricted free agent, who this one might have an impact on the Chicago Bears, is DeMarco Jackson, who I thought for his limited playing time this season, he played pretty damn well. And I think that's a guy the Bears should consider bringing back. Now, in that conversation, since we're talking about linebackers, Brennan, Tremaine Edmonds for the Chicago Bears, obviously, his cap hit in 2026 is $17 million with minimal guarantees. Cutting him this offseason could save the Bears roughly $15 million in cap space. And that would be the guy who the Bears, I'm not talking outside of restructures, just straight up cuts. Tremaine Edmonds would save the Bears more money than anybody else in this roster. If the Bears decide to part ways with Tremaine Edmonds, they're up $15 million in salary cap. So first and foremost, Brandon, let's talk about DeMarco Jackson. Is this a guy you would consider bringing back on a short-term cheap contract?
He's very cheap. Dennis Allen seeked him out. He was on Dennis Allen's team in New Orleans. Dennis Allen went and got him. It's a Dennis Allen player. Dennis Allen tells the Ryan Poles, "I want this guy back here." They're going to sign him. That's for sure going to happen. And listen, I really do wonder, Vincent Anthony Duke, 6'6". Yeah, I think he's a little I think he's pretty light. I watched a few Duke games. I watched this kid play. I think he's got some weight. I think he needs to put some weight on, but he's more of an edge than an end to me, J2K. But where was I going with that, Kyle?
I'm
Sorry, I
talking
get
about
distracted.
DeMarco Jackson.
Yeah, I think I would like to see him in a. He was in such a limited role. He played such limited snaps in this last season. The play where he intercepted the ball, tipped it up to himself, in that game, he looked like a guy, man, that if he gets consistent minutes on the field, might actually be play at a higher level than the two you got. I think that is that bold.
No, I think DeMarco Jackson is probably, if you ask me, just in terms of the eye test, and I understand Edmonds played great to
Fast.
start the season, and he did have good stats. The Bears need speed; they lack speed, and right now DeMarco Jackson, to me, looked faster than Tremaine Edmonds. Maybe Tremaine Edmonds has dealt with multiple injuries now. He just seems like he was a little step behind this season. If you can cut Edmonds and save $15 million and bring back
Yeah, I'm all for it.
DeMarco Jackson for $2, so you're saving $13 million and you're replacing Tremaine Edmonds with DeMarco Jackson. I would do that in a heartbeat. And that's no disrespect to Tremaine Edmonds, guys. I like Tremaine Edmonds. I just don't think that
Is
he's
Devin
the
White a
guy.
free agent?
I don't believe so. I think he might be
I didn't.
restricted.
Kyle,
I
show
think he
me
might be
J2K.
restricted.
I didn't see his review. He said that's my review.
He did. I showed him all.
Oh, I think I missed
Says
it.
maintain position and shed excellent moving laterally, hustle and off charts, often makes plays on the backside and will close on the ball carrier quickly. Huge
Nice,
upside.
J2K.
He also says
You do this for a living?
yeah, he's obviously done a markup of this guy. He says incredible size, height, and length, built in a lab, 43 DN, limited pass rush toolbox, relies on speed, rush dip, will need to develop a long arm and chop swim, and the NFL has massive
I'd not
size.
have said that shit better myself,
It sounds
J2K.
probably getting that off of websites somewhere. Probably one of his
He
early.
is going to be a good football player, though, dude. He's. I mean, he's
Yeah,
not Bane.
and guys, like I
He's
said,
not. Is it Bane, the kid in Miami? But he's persistent. He's consistent. Consistently persistent. He gets after. He's got a motor, man. I liked watching him.
and
He was fun to watch.
And Brennan's going to throw out some names here and there from the draft, but we will break down all of the guys in the draft, guys. Right now, we're kind of solely specifically looking at free agents and who we would decide to bring back for the Bears. I mean, like I said, if Tremaine Edmonds cost us $1 million this year, he would be my linebacker next year, no doubt about it. I think he's good enough. But the problem is, if you can save $15 million in cap space and you're only giving up $2 in dead cap, I just don't think Tremaine Edmonds is worth $15 million this season. I think you could get a guy like DeMarco Jackson who can have almost the same production for much cheaper. And right now, the Bears have to get themselves out of the salary cap situation. They have to find a way. So if that's the solution, is to cut Tremaine Edmonds, then so be it. I'm sorry, man, but the Bears, as much as I like Ryan Poles and what he did last season, and I think he's built a championship caliber roster here. I mean, the Bears made it to almost to the NFC champion. We're 5 minutes away from the NFC championship game, one field goal away. They are. This is the 5th most expensive defense in the NFL, and they're just not that good.
Well,
and I know people are going to say, "Well, they were banged up all season." Well, you guys, then if they were banged up and they played bad because they're banged up, then you need to sign depth, and they don't have the money to do that. So they need to find a way to open up some salary cap.
I appreciate the takeaways from Tremaine Edmonds, but everybody was like posting and throwing these tackle statistics at me. Guys, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I find that to be the most redundant statistic in the NFL. I really do. The tackle thing to me, it's a product of
Nice,
circumstance.
J2K, nice.
If you're in the middle, you should naturally, if you're a middle linebacker, you should naturally be finishing somewhere in the top 3 on your defense in tackles. And the statistic that I think the statistic that is he that Devin White
is a free agent.
Yeah, you want to talk about speed. This kid's been a monster for the Buccaneers for the last couple of years, but is he still? Yeah, he's still in the Buccaneers. But Edmonds,
no,
there's a statistic.
Devin White was on the Raiders.
Was he on the Raiders last year? Okay, he was drafted to the Buccaneers, and I liked him a lot in the draft. But
I mean, it depends on how much he's asking for, right?
Yeah, I don't know. He's gonna get the bag, I would imagine too. I think he was a first round draft pick. I can't remember, but
Well, he signed a 1-year deal for 1.7 million, so he didn't have much faith in himself then, but he's probably bumped that number
he's
up
a
quite a
fast
bit now.
linebacker, and he has struggled. He has struggled to play the position in the NFL. So is it Vizzo who seems to like know a lot about him? He has he's had some ups and some downs, but he's a fast linebacker like Devin Lloyd in Jacksonville. It's just speed, man, it's pure speed. But Tremaine, there's a statistic, guys, that you should look at when you're looking at middle linebacker statistics. Okay, this is a very important statistic to a nose tackle and a middle linebacker. It's the most important statistic to both these positions. It's called this stuff. ESPN lists it. It's the tack to tackle the player at the line of scrimmage or behind it. That's a stuff. Okay. Brian Urlacher was like a god when it came to this. Meeting a running back in the gap and causing them to lose short yards. And Tremaine Edmonds averages, I think it's like 2 to 3 a season, where a good middle linebacker like a Fred Warner is getting like 7 to 11 a year. So that's a statistic when you're looking at something like that for a guy whose job is to fill the gap. That's concerning. It says that Edmonds is doing the least at the most important part of his job.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to. We can break down Tremaine Edmonds' numbers once we get in the linebacker groups and we start talking about the draft available, the people available in the draft and the free agents available. But I mean, all you need to do is watch the Chicago Bears and use the eye test. Tremaine Edmonds was laboring this year. He wasn't good at finding the gaps. He was by the time he was tackling, people were near 100% right. It was 2-3 yards downfield. He's just not. He just seems a little slow to me. I don't really think he fits Dennis Allen's scheme as well as people thought he did going into the season. If there's somebody on the Bears that seems to be the most replaceable in terms of cap salary savings and how much money you can save by cutting him, I think Tremaine Evans is going to be the top of the list. And you guys, I think there's no doubt about it in my mind personally. And maybe I'm wrong and I'll eat my words, but I think he is the top cut candidate for the Chicago Bears going off into this offseason. And I think at some point that's going to happen. I think you save more money if you cut people after June 1st. So we'll see what happens with that. Brendan, let's move on to the offensive side of the ball here. Obviously, I think Brendan and I both agree that most of their assets, most of the Bears' resources in 2026 offseason will be used on the defensive side of the ball. But there are some notable free agents here on the offensive side of the ball coming up. Some more unrestricted free agents to talk about. Brendan, the Bears are actually losing quite a few offensive linemen this year, and we know that the Bears always have a ton of offensive linemen on the roster, so they're probably going to have to add some guys in the offseason here. Unrestricted free agents this season are going to be Ryan Bates, Braxton Jones, and Scott Daly. And I understand Scott Daly's a long snapper on special teams, but I just put him in the line grouping.
That's the guy you want back.
I mean, you're going to have to get a long snapper. So either you bring back Scott Daly or you got to go pick one up in free agency or draft one. So some resources this offseason will be spent on that long snapper position because you have to have. So either Scott Daly's getting paid or somebody else is getting paid.
And I think you just pay Scott Daly too. Just fucking pay.
I agree. I mean, at this point, I don't know how much the long
Although we talked about the cap, and I'm out here just saying, wait, Demario Jackson, bring him back, and
you can't bring everybody back. But Ryan Bates and Braxton Jones, I think it's safe to say both of us agree that those guys are probably not going to be on this roster. Correct?
Ryan Bates shouldn't play in the NFL, and Braxton Jones showed you what he's worth, given an opportunity this season. After 3 years of mediocre football, that guy fell flat on his face. I thought he played the worst he ever did this season. It is time to cut the Braxton Jones project from the news.
Brennan, realistically, if you think about the path that Braxton Jones took in the 2025 season under Ben Johnson, he realistically was replaced by 3 different people. So first he got banged up. He was replaced by Theo Bennett, but they didn't rush Braxton Jones back onto the field. Then
early in his career.
But then Theo Bennett was replaced by Ozzie Trapillo. I think the Bears liked the most of the 3. And then when Ozzie Trapillo got hurt, instead of being like, all right, well, let's lean on Braxton Jones and his experience, the Bears decided to move Joe Thuney over to left tackle and plug Jordan McFadden in left guard. So I don't think it's a stretch of the words to say that the Bears aren't really all that high on Braxton Jones, and he is, at least Ben Johnson in particular, and he is not going to be back with the Chicago Bears next season.
I want to listen. Ryan Poles, I liked Braxton Jones. I really did. When Ryan Poles picked him in the 5th round, I actually texted you guys, I think this is going to be your potential future starting left tackle. And he played admirably. He did. He played hard.
For the value for the pick, for 5th round pick.
He just, for whatever reason, man, the guy's body is not a left tackle. He has no derriere, and he can't anchor. And he just kept getting put in your quarterback's lap. And then this season, Kyle, he couldn't even beat the outside rush. I mean, just and I like Braxton Jones. I really do. I hope the best for that kid. He has seemed like a very quality teammate to the Chicago Bears team. He really has. But there is no way, especially after now the neck injuries. I mean, this guy's and then the leg blew up. Do you remember the ankle? I mean, there's just nothing left. And I think I wanted to talk about Braxton Jones because he was a starter for as long as he was on this football team, guys. But it's time to move on. But then, Kyle, it brings us to our unrestricted free or restrict. Isn't Theo Benedict a free agent?
Unrestricted free agent.
Okay, so now
So
you're talking about, and I don't know what the hell. I mean, I was looking. I would imagine that Karan Amagaji's on fucking milk cartons right now. But your left tackle is really, really rough right now, guys. You've got an unrestricted free agent in Benedict, who you didn't even let play in that game. You put Tooney out there, so Benedict's probably not on this roster anyways. I think that was a pretty stern message. You've got Braxton Jones, who between the injuries and just the lack of ability to develop into a better player under really good coaching this season, it's time to move on from that. Karan is, I mean, whatever Karan is,
Brent,
I
I
don't
think
fucking know.
they're
And
playing for Karan. I think he's a guard.
Trapillo's leg exploded. So this is the thing that pisses Kyle off the most. And here we are again. You gotta have a left tackle. You gotta have a left tackle. And add that, Kyle, we could talk about. I don't, Kyle. What boat are we in here? Is the left tackle now a bigger need than the defensive tackle, a three tech? Is it honestly?
I mean, if you ask me personally, and Chad, I'd love to hear what you think, but the left tackle is always the biggest need on the field outside of the quarterback. But it's at least for once, Brennan, I will say that the Bears didn't ignore it. I mean, they drafted a tackle in the second round, and I know a lot of people give him grief about it because it was right tackle. But when they moved him to left tackle after developing him a little bit, he looked like he belonged there. Like he looked like he was going to get better. He looked like the sky was the limit, and the future was bright. But it's not their fault that his patellar tendon was torn. You can't control injuries or nothing you can do about that. The problem that the Bears have put themselves in now, Brennan, is depth. Like I think Ozzie Trillo is going to be on this team for the next 4 years with his rookie contract, or 3 years now that he's already got a year under his belt. But the question is depth. So how much resources are you willing to put in the left tackle? Are you going to draft one in the first or second round again? Or are you going to try to sign a guy to kind of duct tape the line together for the first 9-10 weeks? They're saying that Ozzie should be back in November. So you're talking about playoffs or right before the playoffs. I mean, you have to add somebody somewhere, but how much money are you willing to spend in the left tackle position? I think it's the most important position on the field.
Kyle, if you're a playoff team and you've had a kid starting at left tackle all year, when Trapillo comes back in November, are you putting that guy in the field? I mean, if somebody played good enough football to get you back to the playoffs, I'm not throwing Trapillo back. Trapillo might as well not. I didn't know what you just said. I didn't know it was the November return. He might as well not even. He's not your answer. Whoever your answer is going to need to be your answer in week 1 of 2026, man. Right?
I don't know. I mean, Brendan, there's veterans out there who have been good in their careers at kind of being like a 1-year gap player. I think there's probably a guy like that.
Re-sign Ryan Bates at left tackle.
Now, here's the problem. Like I just said, do those guys exist? Yes, of course. But left tackle is a pretty damn important position to be putting somebody out there who's kind of like a bridge player till Ozzie's healthy again. I mean, here's an idea. Here's something that people have talked about a lot.
No.
Tooney will play it until Ozzie comes back. Or people are still on the boat that Darnell Wright will eventually be moved to left tackle. I don't know what the solution is going to be, Brennan, but I do know that for me personally, outside of defensive tackle, defensive end, and linebacker, I don't even know. I'm not putting them in any particular order. Left tackle should be a top priority for this team going in the offseason. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
If you
made very high on their list.
If you made Trapillo your starting left tackle, or not Trapillo, if you made Darnell Wright your left tackle, if you moved right to left, that fucked with me for a second. Would you re-sign Benedict to be your right tackle?
I think I'd rather have a guy like here's a good example here. Brennan Dante says Matt Pryor. I'd rather have Matt Pryor. The Bears are familiar with him. He's been in this organization before. He performed well when he was here.
I know Dante's a really big Larry Borum fan.
Matt Pryor would probably. I'd probably rely on a
Maybe you
guy
should,
like
Decker.
Matt Pryor over Theo Benedett. I just don't think the Bears coaching staff was super impressed with Theo Benedett. I think that's why they decided to move Tooney over to left tackle for that playoff
Yeah,
game.
clearly they
But I
don't
mean,
want that kid ever touching the field at left tackle again, without
But
a
I
doubt.
mean, it comes down to A, how much money are you willing to put in this position, and B, Brennan, like, are you saying
A
you're going to
lot.
move?
I'm
You
willing to
would,
put a lot of money in this
so
position.
am I. But are you saying you're going to move Darnell Wright over, and then Bennett would come back and play right tackle, or are you saying he's just going to have to play left tackle until Ozzy gets back? Like, what? It
Well, I'm
depends on
saying
what
if you
exactly
move Darnell
what the
Wright to the
plan is.
left tackle, would you? Why does that keeps fucking with me? If you moved right to left, would you sign Benedett to play right? Because
Me
he
personally,
was a much better right tackle, Theo Benedett, than he was a left tackle when he played this season. I thought.
I mean, like, is it a possibility? Yes. Is there better? If there's a better option out there, am I signing him instead of Bennett for a little bit more money? Yes. Like Benedett's not like to me a guy
So
that
he's replacement level,
yeah,
and you
yes, he must. He's not like
and
he shouldn't. He's not like a must be brought back kind of guy. I think,
no, and it's not a conversation even worth having. I'd imagine if the Bears wouldn't let the guy play in the last game of the season. I mean,
and yeah, I think they like Matt Pryor. And Matt Pryor signed what, a $1.5 million contract with the Eagles after he left the Chicago Bears. So it's not like the guy, and he didn't play much, so he's not going to be looking for a ton of money. But I like Matt Pryor a lot better than I do Theo Benedett. A lot
what
better.
is it? What does it say about Benedict?
It says he was an undrafted free agent who went to Canadian college.
No, but what does it say about how the Bears
That's what it
feel
says.
about him? That they were like, whatever we got to do to jigsaw this offensive line to keep Benedict off the field. That's what we're going. Like
I will say this, Brendan. There's some
that's
people in the
interesting.
chat saying that they weren't super impressed with Ozzy. You guys, I mean, we have conversations about every other position on the field or every other player, and it's like patience, patience. These guys have to develop. Ozzy gets 4 games, and people are like, "Well, he wasn't
No, that's
bad, but he
ridiculous.
didn't stand out." I think the kid still has a ton of room to grow. I think he was playing right tackle most of his collegiate career. I think left tackle is unfamiliar to him. He has to get used to that side of the line, and I think you give an entire offseason. Obviously, he's not going to get it because he's injured. But if he had stayed healthy and he had an entire offseason to adjust to that left side of the line, I think Ozzy Trapillo could have been a damn good
I'm
left tackle. I'm not saying he would have been top 5 in the NFL. I'm not calling him Trent Williams, but I think people are way too quick to judge him. I think he looked a lot better than Theo Benedett and Braxton Jones.
going to say exactly what I
He
said to you
was their
guys.
short-term solution for sure.
That's exactly what I said in the text to you guys, and I said it twice, following 2 different football games, focusing heavily on Ozzy Trapillo. He was getting beat, but you could see that he had the tools. Like you could see he was manufacturing in development a better version of himself week in and week out. Kyle, am I wrong? I thought
Oh yeah,
where I was like, man, Trapillo's
his
just getting
lateral movement's
smoked.
got to get better. But you got
The
to remember,
next game he
he's not used to
played,
moving to his left. He's used to moving to his
I
right.
texted you guys, this is a future starting left tackle in the NFL, and he's not that today. That's what I said. That's how I still feel about him.
That's what I said
Prior
when
to
they
the
drafted him,
prior,
and people were out on him immediately. Like, you draft the right tackle, but guys, it just takes time and development. They're
I
gonna
thought he
eventually
was
give him a
playing
chance
some
to
really
be the left
quality
tackle.
football towards the latter games there, man. I thought he was a rookie who was forced to play, or I shouldn't say thrown into a position that he didn't play majority in college. And I thought he handled it pretty damn well, guys. And this is a tough position to play in the NFL. You're playing the league's best. And you could tell by that kid's size and the way he was able to move, just the same way you've seen Darnell Wright, the way he's able to move at the size that he is, you got to believe there's a potential future left tackle in the NFL in that kid, man. He is a monster.
He's
He
huge.
is a monster, and he moves. He was pretty smooth, I thought. I really did. I thought when edge rushers just tried to get on the outside him, he was good. And bull rushing that guy is not an option. That's the
Yeah,
beauty
Bernard.
of
At the end of
drafting
the
a kid
day,
that's a fucking elephant.
we got some more position groups to get through here. But at the end of the day, I believe that at least in the Bears' minds, and Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, these guys just drafted this guy last year. He looked good in the 4 games he played. Obviously, there was room for improvement. He could have been better, but he did look serviceable, and he looked like he was more above average left tackle in the NFL with a ton of room to grow. I think Ozzy Trapillo is probably the answer at left tackle for the Bears right now. But if you're talking about who's going to play left tackle next season for the Chicago Bears while Ozzy Trapillo is nursing his injury, I don't think that person is on this roster. That's just me
Yeah, and
personally. Again,
I
if you
would
guys disagree
unfortunately,
with me,
I would
please,
need to
I'd
see
love
a
to hear.
free agent
I
list.
don't think he's on the roster.
I would need to see the free agents at that position. and then you got
Yeah,
to pay,
we'll get into those in the coming weeks here on the show.
and you can't be. I mean, it's gonna be it's really tough, guys, to go find a guy in free agency that you're gonna give a lot of money to at that position. It really is. It's you either get the guy, right, Kyle? You either get the guy or you don't.
Well, I
Like,
mean, it's like I
and then
said,
you've
Brent,
got Slater and Tooney who are injured for this season, and then you're paying guys $100 million, and I don't know. The left tackle is a tough one. That's why Ryan Poles has really failed here. He's really failed. He's drafted 3 of them.
yeah, but the last one he drafted to me looked like he probably could have been the guy, and the Bears just got bad luck, man. People get injured. That's part of football, man. You never know when these injuries are going to happen. It's absolutely terrible injury for the Chicago Bears. It's heartbreaking because I think the Bears had probably scratched that off their list in the offseason. Like, all right, well, we have to allocate some resources towards left
Oh,
tackle, but
Trapilla was your future
it's
starter,
not going to
Kyle,
be
right?
anything crazy. Yeah, to me personally, of all the people who looked like they could potentially start at left tackle for the next 10, 12 years, it looked like Ozzie Trapillo. But now, and you know what? I agree with everybody in the chat here saying that he also had a lot of help with Joe Tooney standing next to him. I agree with you 100%. And
Well,
that's why you sign
that's going
guys
to
like
make him a better player,
yeah, that's why you sign guys like Joe Tooney, because then you don't have to spend as much money
guys.
on your left
And
tackle because you know
the
he's going to be there
difference
to help.
that I have to address that because Joe Tooney, a guy like Joe Tooney and Grady Jarrett are not brought here to make somebody's job easier in during a game. It's not, oh, he's so good that this guy next to him is going to look much better. Joe Tooney is trying to instill in these players beside him, these young players, what they can carry into their future. It's not, hey, you suck, but don't worry, I'm here to pick up your slack. No, it's, hey, you're really sucking at this. I'm going to show you how to do it better.
Yeah, Brennan, real quick, let's get to some of these. Romy says, unfortunately, Ozzie may never be the same player due to his injury. I agree that all the doctors come out and said the patellar
Go
is
through it, Kyle.
one of the toughest injuries to come back from in all football. I hope he comes back stronger than ever. He's a young kid; his body should respond well. I think he'll work hard. I think he'll put his mind and effort and heart into the recovery. I think the book is not written on Ozzie Trapillo yet. To me personally, guys, in 2026 or 2027, he's going to be your starting left tackle. 2026 remains to be seen. Scottish says they like Theo Benedict. They had concerns with versus bull rush. If the Bears drafted Verse instead of Rome, Theo Benedict played in that game. Yeah, but I mean, Scottish. If they're like, oh well, we like him a lot, but he can't play against this team because they have good bull rush. How much do they really like him? I mean, you're going to see guys who have just as good, if not better, bull rush than Jared Verse. As much as I like Jared Verse, you're going to run into guys like Myles Garrett and these guys are going to get better. Like Brian Burns is going to be a problem for you in the future. Aiden Hutchinson's going to be a problem for you in the future. So if he can't handle those top tier star defensive ends, then he's probably not in the Bears' future plans, considering he's a free agent. Dante says Ozzie's injury knocks us off schedule. I agree with you 100%. Like I just said, I think the Bears had thought at some point during the season before Ozzie got hurt, that's probably not going to be one of their top priorities is going in the offseason. They're not going to allocate a ton of resources to it. I think that just threw a wrench in the gears, and now they have to talk about maybe taking a left tackle in the first round all over again, maybe the second round. I don't know, but I do hope that the Bears take the left tackle position seriously, because if you don't, that's when you're going to end up getting guys like Caleb Williams hurt. Flex says, in my opinion, we're not getting a finished product at left tackle for this season. It's either going to be a toolsy guy that needs to be refined or an undersized guy that shows a lot of fight. I agree with you, man. I think it's going to be a 1-year gap type situation. It just sucks because that's a very important position on the field to have a 1-year gap type situation. I think the Bears wanted their perennial left tackle who's going to be there for the next 10 years. And like I said, Brennan, a lot of people agree with us. Some people don't. I think Ozzie Trapillo was probably that guy. Erica says, why not just leave Tooney at left tackle and McFadden at left guard for the time being? That was working. I think that's probably in consideration, Erica, but I think at the end of the day, you probably want Joe Tooney in playing the position. He's been an all-pro at like 8 times over the last 12 seasons and has been probably the best guard in football over those last 10 seasons, however much he's played. I think he's been probably considered the best guard in all of football. That's probably ultimately where you want Joe Tooney playing. I think it's going to come down to what's available in free agent, what's available in the draft. I think that's what it is, you guys. I think they'll go through free agency, they'll go through the draft, and then after they're done with the draft, they've decided who they wanted to pay and they decided who they wanted to draft. Then they'll make their decision on who's going to play left tackle. If a good opportunity doesn't present itself and there's not a good left tackle available, it might end up being Joe Tooney. I have no idea. Brennan,
Erica, I think
go ahead.
Joe Tooney is an all-pro player at the guard position, which means, as far as the people who vote those players are concerned, he is the best left guard in the NFL.
I think he might be the best guard in football.
And I think it's really tough to take by choice to take a player, not by necessity like they did in that game, but by choice moving forward to take a player who is the best in the NFL at his position and make him something else. It's like if you have the best nickel in the NFL, if you got Kyler Gordon in the NFL, and you suffer an injury at corner that is going to impact you all the way into next year, are you approaching the offseason like we got to get Kyler Gordon ready to play corner outside? I just I don't like that approach. I don't think that ever helps the team. I don't think you're doing the best things you can do to succeed.
Yeah, and let me say, just for the record, man, Brennan, you can comment on this as well. Moving Darnell Wright from right tackle to left tackle is my least favorite solution. That is my least favorite solution of the bunch.
Yeah, Kyle's been pretty stern on that. And Darnell Wright is another all pro player. So it's, do you really want to take these guys, Darnell Wright, Joe Tooney, Kevin Byard? Do you really want to take these guys, barring an injury, and move them somewhere else permanently? Like I said, not by necessity over the course of a game, but permanently. And who's to say that if Joe Tooney plays left tackle all the way into the Super Bowl, he doesn't just get fucking exposed and destroyed?
Well, who's to say Jordan McFadden doesn't get exposed to left guard? And real quick, Brennan, we have a new, I've never seen this name before. It says Ralph Love 37. First of all, thanks for joining the show, man. We appreciate you.
What's up, Ralph?
He
What up,
says
man?
he heard Ozzy could be back for training camp. I don't know where you heard that, Ralph, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but from everything
The
I've
November
read,
thing took me by surprise because I was hearing like he'd miss a quarter, like 4 weeks of the season.
David Kaplan said he's talked to numerous doctors who have dealt with patellar injuries before, especially with guys who are playing in the NFL. He said that best case
That's
scenario,
a nice
if the
source.
recovery goes well, best case scenario is October, November, December of next year. That's what I've heard. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just telling you what I heard. But I know the patellar is one of the worst injuries to have in the NFL. I know that for a fact. We've heard numerous doctors come out and say that patellars are really, really, really tough to come back from. Really tough to come back from. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's not playing in training camp and is not ready by the start of the regular season next year. Right? Brandon, let's move on.
J2K asks, do you think Poles goes with a splash signing or a bunch of gap fillers in free agency?
I think it depends on their financial situation.
I think I can't believe I get to say this, which makes me feel really good about Ryan Poles as the GM of this team. Honestly, it does. I think J2K Ryan Poles is looking right now at what teams might have to part with players that matter, right, Kyle? Like you found Jonah Jackson, you found Joe Tooney. I think right now you're looking at rosters of teams. He's looking at other teams' caps, right? And what like we have wide receivers we could afford to trade. What teams out there have defensive tackles or edge rushers that they could afford to trade? They have a lot of talent at the position, but too much money invested in it. And you've got to look at like a team like the Giants with Thibodeau and Brian Burns and Abdul Carter and Dexter Lawrence and who's the last one?
I mean, that's enough right there.
Well, who am I missing? They have one more edge rusher that I'm missing.
Those guys are going to command a lot.
Help me out here, guys. They got one more edge rusher I'm missing, but they're going to have to pay these guys, Thibodeau and Carter. You know, what I mean, it's going to start. And Burns is under a big contract. How much money can you allocate to the defensive line alone? So, I think Ryan Poles is going to look at things like those. Like, hey, he's going to call these guys up and hey, say, we both know what it is. At some point, one of these guys is on their way out. So, who are you willing to part with now to where you can get some asset back? And if he got a call that said we'll trade Thibodeau to you for your second and third, I'm probably doing that.
Yeah, Brian, we're gonna get into some of this, some of the rest of this free agents here because it's not something I want to spend a bunch of time on. I mean, there's a couple guys in this list, Brian. There's
a guy that I really want to talk about, man. There's a guy that I really want to talk about.
Here's the rest of the free agents, Brian. I'm just gonna go over them. The rest of the free agents. So this is including quarterback, wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends. Case Keenum, Alameda Zacchaeus, Devin Duvernay, Travis Homer, and Durham Smythe make up the rest of the Bears free agency list. So are any of those guys?
Two of those guys
important to you, and if so, who?
Devin Duvernay has been nothing but reliable, and in big moments, 2 major moments this season, he had big returns. Devin Duvernay, you don't worry, Kyle, right? Do, this is probably not a normal frame of mind for an NFL fan, but as a Bears fan, when you went from Velus Jones to Trent Taylor, whatever that kid's name, I don't know what that kid's name was, whatever that kid's name was, you were just constantly concerned about how we were going to blunder a punt or a kick return. What, who's going to fumble? What's going to happen? Are we going to give the ball away on good with bad field position? Like Duvernay is just, you don't even think about it. You just know he's going to catch the ball, right? I think like what I'm saying is the fact that you don't really think about Duvernay too much is a good thing, because you just expect he's going to do what's necessary. He's going to call fair catch if he's loaded. He's going to take the ball a few yards if he can, and he might break a big one. You never know. But Devin Duvernay is important to me. It was a big sign. I did a show about the signing itself when it happened. But Smythe Kyle is the guy I want to talk about. Smythe, I've rewatched out of 17 games. I probably rewatched 11 or 12 of them, guys. And there's always one player. And then I watched the QB school, Kyle, with JT O'Sullivan. There's always one player when I'm watching this stuff, all 22s, whatever you want to call it, that stands out tremendously. And it's Durham Smythe. He is a left tackle when he's put on the end of the line. It's not just a chip. He locks players up. And when he's blocking downfield, he erases people entirely. This dude is not a pass catcher. He's not a ball handler. He's not a playmaker. He's not a flashy guy. He is a dirty worker, and you probably don't even notice how hard he's working. He is a tremendous blocker in the NFL, and he can block the best, the smallest, the biggest, you name. This dude can play football. I didn't care about the signing when the trade, whatever it was, a signing. I didn't care about it when it happened. I was wrong. I have noticed this dude multiple times on tape. He stands out. He makes blocks that you could probably do a highlight reel of Durham Smythe blocks, and if any Bears fan that watched it would be in awe, because this dude makes blocks against some of the biggest, strongest, fastest player in the NFL. Kyle, what do you think about that list? Zacchaeus, Duvernay, Smythe, Keenum.
First and foremost,
We'll have the Case Keenum conversation. We talked about that before the show.
I would like Zacchaeus and Homer as far away from the team as possible. I have nothing against Travis Homer, but the guy's been overpaid since he's been on the Bears. Listen, he's a special teams guy. You can find those guys undrafted free agents. You can pay him league minimum $800,000.
Yeah, and you can find a guy that's a good running back.
He's not contributing much to the team. He would be the first guy I would let walk. The second guy I would let walk is Alameda Zacchaeus, because he can't catch the ball. And there was a couple times this season where there were really, really big situations and Oz dropped the ball and it didn't end up biting the Bears in the ass. But if you continue to keep him on this roster, sooner or later, one of those drops is going to
hurt. There was a game where it did.
It's going to
very much did.
Yeah, like it's just
the Packers game they lost.
And you know what, Brennan, I think the Bears should. I think we heard Ben Johnson talk about it in his presser. He said one of the things we're going to focus on this offseason, focus on a lot, is going to be catching the ball. And you might as well, obviously Rome has problems with drops. Colston had problems with drops late in the season. Luther had problems with drops. And Zacchaeus had problems with drops. So one thing you could do to start fixing the problems with drops is just get one of the guys who you don't need on the team who has problems with drops and replace him with a same caliber receiver who has a good catch rate. That's what I would do.
Like John A. Walker.
Would immediately replace him with somebody who can catch the ball, because to me, Oz just is not that guy. Now, Brennan, in terms of Durham Smythe, I agree with you. He's like one of the unsung heroes of the Chicago Bears. I like that. I think J2K said or maybe I don't remember who it was, but somebody said he was an extension of Ben Johnson on the field. No block, no rock. He does all the physical things. He does the things they don't really talk about. It's not going to show up in the stats.
Fucking good at it. He's really good at it, dude.
Flex said he was an extension of BJ on the field. I like that. I like that comment a lot. If Smythe is cheap and he's willing to take the same contract he took this year and he fills up a spot in the 53-man roster, you need 3 tight ends, then yes, I'm re-signing Smythe all day. If the Bears like a guy, an undrafted free agent, or a guy in the 7th round who's very similar to Smythe, and they decide to go younger and get a guy here who's going to be here on a 4-year rookie contract, and he can be that Smythe for the next 4 years, I'm fine with that too. Absolutely fine with that too. The one that people keep saying they would re-sign in the chat here, a couple of people have said they re-sign. That me personally, guys, I just don't think it's important as it was last year. And here's a perfect example. Erica said, Keenum has been a great mentor for Caleb. Keep him. I like Case Keenum, guys. I do. And Flex Dig says he might be our offensive coordinator. I like him a lot. but I think the Case Keenum project was to get Caleb to where he's at right now. I think it was to help Caleb develop. I think Keenum was kind of a player's coach. And I think now that they feel like
A
Caleb has
coach's player.
Yeah, now that they feel like Caleb has turned a corner and he's far enough in his development, they're starting to open the playbook up more to him. They're going to start to learn new things this offseason they did last year. Last year, obviously, they were still working on footwork and cadence and all that stuff. I don't think Keenum needs to be on this team. Now, listen, if I think he's made $1.2 million last year. If he's willing to take league minimum again, or $1 million, and that's the guy they want as their third quarterback, the emergency quarterback, I'm all for it. But if he says, "Oh, I want $2 or $3 or $4 million because I'm a veteran in this league, and there are other people asking me to be their backup, so you're gonna have to compete with those contract offers," I'm going in the draft and getting a guy like, bro, what was the guy's name that was here? Austin Reeves, or the guy who was the guy that was
Austin
here?
Reed,
Austin Reed.
Reed.
That would be a guy like
And
that who's on.
I thought he played really well.
Yeah, and if you're gonna get a guy, you're gonna get him like you're gonna get him on league minimum.
But
You're gonna
Kyle,
get $850,000.
I disagree with that.
You got to make up money wherever you can, guys. This team is they're going to struggle to find roster or to find to cap space. They're going to, whether people really like it or not.
I disagree with that, though. I do think that your third quarterback should be a veteran, and I do believe that Tyson Bagent is your second string quarterback, no matter what.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Tyson
I think the third string.
He just got a 2-year, $10 million contract.
Well, and I have more to say. This is going to be the most positive message I ever relay about Tyson Bagent, because when the Caleb haters were throwing in our chat that Bagent should be the starter, I pretty much obliterated this guy in this podcast. But I want to say this: the third quarterback should be a veteran, because backup quarterbacks are providing one of two things or both. The guy who is watching from the sideline then has the tablet, and he can sit down with Caleb and say, "Hey, from the angle I'm seeing, this is what happened here." Bagent can do that. Case Keenum's been doing that with Caleb. He's had the tablet. He's been sitting next to him. Bagent can do that. You don't need to be a savvy veteran to be the guy that's standing on the sideline with a different angle of a play. Bagent he's a smart guy. He's very capable of providing that. So the only other thing you need from a quarterback to help Caleb out is just experience. A guy who went to the playoffs, a guy who played in big moments, a guy who's played in multiple offensive schemes, a guy who can provide knowledge in a different way than a Tyson Bagent can. Because Bagent can be the look-see on the sideline that Caleb relies on when it's, where did it go wrong, man? From your angle, where did this go wrong? And that's what those guys are doing when they have the tablet in their hands. But Case Keenum provided, I've been to the playoffs before, man. Like, how much did Keenum matter to Caleb winning the first playoff game of his career? Case Keenum can provide I've played in the scheme that this offense is playing in, right? I know the scheme the Rams are playing. I've been there. So he provides something different. So if you're going to sign a third quarterback to this roster, it should be a mentor, not a guy, not the purpose that Bagent is could currently serve for this team, which is, this is how I saw it. And that's what that guy's doing.
But at that point, you could make Keenum a coach, and his salary wouldn't cost against your salary cap. So, I mean, for me personally, like I think Caleb has learned all he's going to learn from a savvy veteran quarterback on the sideline. I think Case Keenum's going to get offers to be a number 2 quarterback from teams across the league. I think he might even get an option to be number 1 for teams who are badly need a quarterback. Maybe he could fill in the first 6 weeks for Cleveland while they're still deciding what they're doing with Shadur and Deshaun and the rest of those guys. I don't know. Somewhere, maybe he could find a job. Maybe on the Jets, Case Keenum could be their starting quarterback if they're drafting and developing somebody. So he's probably going to get offered more money elsewhere. I don't want the Bears to try to match any contract that Case Keenum has offered. Like, if he wants to take his $890,000 league minimum to be our third string quarterback, just like a guy would if you had an Austin Reed, if you had an undrafted free agent be your third string quarterback, I'm all for it. But if he wants $2.5 million because some team's offering to make him the starter or the immediate backup, and they're offering him more money, and you can go get a guy like Austin Reed to be your third string emergency quarterback for league minimum, I'm taking that 1.2, 1.4, 1.8, whatever it is, $1 million and putting it back into the roster on the defensive side of the ball. I think right now, Caleb's so far along, he's got the coach he needs to get better. Declan Doyle's still here by all accounts. He's still got Press Taylor, the passing game coordinator. Right now, I don't think they need that fourth voice in the quarterback room. I think Ben Johnson's got it from here. I think Keenum helped Caleb out a lot in the second year and learning this new scheme and this new offense. But Now I think it's up to Ben to kind of take over from here. And I think Case did his job, but I like Case Keenum a lot, but it's time to move on. Unless, like I said, if he wants to come back on an $898,000 salary and be the emergency quarterback, sure, all for it. If he has any competition at all, and he's like, "Hey guys, I'll stay here, but to stay here, I need to pay. You need to match me the $3 million that the Titans are offering me to be their backup, and they want me to be a player's coach for Cam Ward." I'm saying, all right, Case, take it
Yeah,
easy. Man. Appreciate you, dude.
That's where we ended up on the conversation, is how much can you allocate to this position? And
They've
Tyson
already
Bagent,
allocated a lot.
Tyson Bagent did get a big deal, so
He got 5 year. He got 2 year, $10 million. He got $5 million a year.
So you do need to spend sparingly at this position.
To me, that's the third string quarterback, the emergency quarterback. To me, guys, is the position that would get the least amount of priority in the offseason. Because let's face it, guys, if Caleb and Tyson both go down and you have a third string quarterback finishing the season, your season's over. It's over. You're not going to win the Super Bowl. So at this point, it would just be a waste of money. Brennan, is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of the Bears free agents before we move on? Because I want to go over some of the guys who are possible cut candidates and possible restructure candidates. If you want to talk about these guys real quick.
Kyle, did the Bears need? Well, first off, I thought the tight end. I thought the tight end position was the best unit on this football team, even over the offensive line. At the end of this season, I thought.
Yeah, and Brennan, we're going to get into the tight ends.
Smythe, Komet, Loveland, Smythe, I thought they were the best. But we didn't talk about. Well, I guess never mind.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Cole in a second here, but real quick, Brennan, before we move on to these restructures,
but do they need? Do they have too much assets with the wide receiver position? Do they need to get rid of a wide? Does Johnny Walker need room to play?
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that, but real quick. So your hierarchy this offseason, your where you would how you would rank your position of need going into the offseason. You say defensive end or defensive tackle. What do you got first? So you would put the most resources in a tackle this offseason. It's perfect you see that because Erica's
either defensive or left. Yeah.
Erica's last comment says trade Brisker to the Titans for Jeffrey Simmons. Well, you can't trade Brisker now because he's a free agent. So they wouldn't. They'd be like, hey, we'll just wait 2 months and he'll be a free agent. We'll sign him.
They would also send.
But that would be awesome.
A middle finger emoji to that.
Erica, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. But I think Bern and I both agree that
this emoji.
Defensive tackle is probably the top priority, right? Then you'd go defensive end after that, I believe. Then for me personally, Brennan, I'm going after defensive tackle. I'm going safety because there's not a single safety under contract on this roster. Not necessarily do I think it's the third most important position on the Bears. And then probably left tackle, but left tackle, I'm not saying it's not one of the top three most important. I'm saying I don't think you need to put $100 million into it. You know what I'm saying? Do you understand?
The left tackle?
Yeah, I don't think you need to go get.
That's your position, dude.
I know, but you're not going to go trade for a guy like Trent Williams and give him $40 million. You heard it from here.
Kyle thinks left tackles are important.
Bullshit. You're not going to go get. See, I like J2Ks. He says defensive tackle, middle linebacker, safety. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what happens with Trim Edmonds, right? It's tough for me to say I'm going to put linebacker at the top of the list because for all I know, the Bears are going to keep Edwards and Edmonds, and that's the way they're going. And there's nothing we can do about it, right, guys?
They better cut that, dude.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about think projections of everybody like Trim Edmonds being cut, yeah, I would go defensive tackle, left tackle, defensive end, linebacker, safety. That would be my top five. And Brennan, when you said the wide receiver room, the tight end room, the running back room, I don't think those are not a necessity this offseason. None of those are a necessity. Could they be improved? Absolutely, 100%, no question about it.
Yeah, but is Etienne an improvement?
I believe so. I believe 100% Etienne would be an improvement over DeAndre Swift.
I watched him in Clemson,
I like DeAndre Swift.
Etienne is disappointing. I watched him at Clemson. I thought he was the best college running back the year he was drafted. I did, but listen, there's some bias here because he's been on my fantasy team a couple of years, but like this guy has really fallen short of my expectation, I'll say.
Well, I mean, you also have to imagine he had just had one of his best seasons he's had in the NFL, and it's under a new good offensive coach. So maybe if he came and Ben Johnson got him, he could turn his career around completely. You don't know. I mean, you just never know with these guys. The guy was I think it was a first or second round pick. So in terms of running back, that's that's a high value.
The Jaguars took Lawrence and Etienne, who both played at Clemson in the first round.
I agree, J2K. T.J. Edwards recovering from broken leg is not good, but they just re-signed him. The only thing cutting him would do now is hurt you. You can't cut him now. There's too much dead cap. You got to pay off his guarantees. True Pilgrim says, I go defensive tackle, safety, edge, and left tackle. Yeah, in probably no particular order, right? Because we don't know the details yet. We don't know the details yet, so there won't be any
for
particular.
me, guys, and nobody's going to like this, Kyle. You're not. The left tackle position is so important. It is. It's so important. And if you're going to go all out, you draft a first-round left tackle. If you're not going to do that, if that is not your goal, to get your future left tackle, because Trapillo is whatever you think, you're putting him on the bench. This is edge DT, edge DT, edge DT. You have got to flip this
Brennan,
line
you need a
entirely.
linebacker. You need a linebacker.
Listen. If you don't if you don't make a Max Crosby trade, you don't make a Joe Tooney type trade on this defensive line, your draft has got to be allocated to the defensive line.
Well, and let's be straight.
You cannot. Trenches are the most important part of football, and on one side of the ball, you are just getting your fucking ass handed to you every week. That has got to change, guys.
I agree with you, J2K. We're paying way too much money for Tremaine Edmonds, who ended up being a weak side linebacker in Dennis Allen's defense. He kind of was in Edwards' defense too. He kind of went back and forth. But yeah, that's why I didn't want to pay Roquan Smith in the first place. I'm not paying. I just don't. If you're going to pay a linebacker of $100 million, it's got to be like a Brian Urlacher, Ray Lou. It's got to be that guy.
I want to relay this again.
It's got to be. If he's going to be the highest paid player in your defense, he's got to be that guy. It needs.
I want to relay this again, guys.
That Patrick Willis, Fred Warner type guy.
When you're thinking about your positions of need on the defensive side of football for this Bears team, and you're thinking like, oh, the safety, the middle linebacker, you're thinking those. You have to apply this thought. How bad are the guys back there versus are they just not getting any help? Is Tremaine Edmonds as bad as a player as we believe him to be if this defensive line actually makes some fucking push? Like when your offensive guard, like ours, right? When your swing guard or your swing tackle is able to get through the defensive front and into the second level and block, when an offensive guard is able to block Tremaine Edmonds with ease, when he's able to just blow by whoever's in front of him and get to the second level and put Tremaine Edmonds on his ass, how much do you blame Tremaine Edmonds? I mean, yes, there are middle linebackers who can stay engaged with a block and disengage with a block and make the play anyways, but these guys are getting blocked by monsters. There's nothing happening up front to help these guys on the back end of this defense at all, ever. And I said it before the season started, I thought it was a problem, but if you're not seeing it now, if you didn't watch this entire Bears season and think to yourself, God, how good could this defense actually be if there was some fucking push or even a stand, okay? We're not even talking about getting into the backfield. We're talking about just not getting moved entirely off the line of scrimmage every play. How much better could these guys be? You have to address these guys in the middle up front. If you address the Billings and Dexter situation, everybody will get better. I promise you that.
It could very well be a combination of both. It could be a combination of both. I mean, the defensive line could be making Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards look bad, and then you go address your defensive line. You're like, oh, Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards are better, but they're certainly not stars. Like it could.
Well, Tremaine Edmonds is not a star. He's not a star.
No, and I think at some point, if the Bears want to win a Super Bowl, they need a linebacker who's a star. And most teams that win the Super Bowl,
we just talked about
in the playoffs, they have a star linebacker.
But we just talked about possibly putting DeMarco Jackson in that position, and I believe again
as a gap.
If you throw DeMarco Jackson back there and you put some quality talent up front, some good football players on this defensive line, especially the interior, you're going to get a good season out of DeMarco Jackson because, like I said, guys, when it comes to tackles, they're just going to be there, okay? Just start looking at this the way I do. When it comes to the tackles, if your defensive line can at least hold up, DeMarco Jackson, if he's your middle linebacker next year, he's going to lead your fucking team in tackles. That's what's going to happen. I can guarantee it. It's just how this statistic works. It's the guy who's, as a result of circumstance,
he did lead the team in tackles.
Yeah, he did, and he was fourth in the league actually when he got injured. But as a result of circumstance, this position should naturally have the most tackles. That's just the way it fucking works.
Erica, it's not. Sometimes I know a lot of people don't like Dexter. Cutting Dexter wouldn't do you any favors, so you're just losing money. You're just
No,
paying off the
Dexter
dead
is a
cap. So,
rotational
yeah,
player on your football
you
team.
want him
Listen,
to stay on the team and be rotational. If you cut him, you're gonna end up paying him more money than you would if he was playing.
and I want to make this clear, Kyle. The stance on Dexter is not that he's worthless. He had, I think, the third most sacks at the position in the NFL. The stance on Dexter is that he's a rotational player. You were expecting him to develop into your answer at this position, the three tech, which is very important, as we discussed. He didn't. And that doesn't make him useless. He is a guy that you want to put on that line when you need pressure. When it comes to rundowns, I don't want that guy anywhere on my field, ever.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with everything you said. I agree with you. Okay. I mean, you guys, the defensive line is certainly probably the priority going into this offseason. I think that's where the Bears will allocate most of the resources via the draft and free agency. Then you're talking
Sure.
about safety and left tackle right behind it. I think all three of those positions are going to be where the Bears do the most work in this offseason. Vernon, now I want to get into some likely cut candidates. We already talked about Tremaine Edmonds, and I don't want to talk about him anymore. If you cut him this season, you're saving roughly $15 million in cap space. He is the guy on this roster who would save you the most money of anybody on the roster if you cut him. I think Tremaine Edmonds, just because of the financial situation and where the Bears are on the cap with the cap situation, I think Tremaine Edmonds, guys, is going to be cut. I do. I think Tremaine Edmonds is going to be a cap casualty this season. He's going to be one of those names you see on
I think
NFL
when Ryan Poles says there's a lot of
NFL.com
tough
where it's like
decisions,
notable names cut
he's
this
one of
today.
them.
Bears cut. Yeah. The two next guys who would save you the most money if you cut them, Vernon, outside of these three guys, Tremaine Evans, DeAndre Swift, and Cairo Santos, there's not that many guys on the team who will save you a ton of money if you cut them. The next guy who will save you the most amount of money if you cut him is DeAndre Swift. Now, DeAndre Swift has a moderate cap hit with limited long-term investment, so it's not like DeAndre Swift's
You're not
bleeding
cutting
you dry, but you could be cut for appropriate savings, and depending on how the roster checks out. Now, listen, he's owed $8.83 million next year with $1.3 million guaranteed. If you cut him, you save $7.5 million in cap space. So basically, you're just not if you have to cut him before the league year begins, but basically all you're not paying him is you're just paying him that $1.3 million guaranteed. So the $8.83 million, you would save $7.5 million in cap space. Brennan, do you think that the Bears, if they cut DeAndre Swift and would save close to $8 million in cap space? Do you think that he's worth the $8 million, or would you cut him and look for somebody who's more efficient for
No,
$8
I
million?
was just going to say when the Bears gave Swift the contract they did under Shane Waldron's offense, I thought he was getting paid too much. Kyle, DeAndre Swift was an $8 million running back without a doubt. Whatever the enemy did, I said this time and time again on the show, he didn't just have his best season in his career. He developed into an actual running back. And I thought the Bears kind of overlooked it. I thought DeAndre Swift should have been your centerpiece. I thought you should have leaned very heavily on DeAndre Swift. I thought he is. I think now that he's the player that he's paid to be. That's what I think about
Vernon,
DeAndre Swift.
wouldn't you
I
say
think
that
now that he's worth his contract.
it
He
depends on
is
the
worth his
situation?
contract.
Depends on the situation. So if the Bears came up to you, Brennan, Ben Johnson, Brian Poles walked in your house and they're like, Brennan, we promise you, we're going to cut DeAndre Swift and we're going to save $7.5 million. And we promise you, we're going to get you a Amarian Hampton or a Travian Henderson. We're going to replace him and we're going to
Like in the
save
draft?
yes. And we're going to save $7.5 million
You got to draft a first
in the
round running
meantime,
back.
or second round, right? Could be second round.
No, not this. Kyle, no. You know me. I'm a college football guy. No.
No, I mean, Bernie,
Not,
what do you
not
think?
here.
So you don't like Travian
Not
Henderson?
this year.
Because he wasn't a first round pick.
Dude, last year's running back class was like historic. And
I
I
know, but
mean that. It was like out of
either
Kyle
way,
Monangai was drafted in the 7th round. You're
either
not
way,
this
Travian.
year's draft, you're not getting Travion Henderson in the 2nd round, I promise you.
For me personally, if I think if the Bears can find a way to get Travis Etienne for cheaper or get a good running back in the draft to replace him, I'm cutting DeAndre Swift for that 7.5. I love DeAndre Swift. I like him a lot.
No
He was
way.
a huge part, and he's always going to
I
have a huge part in our hearts because last season. But he's not.
You know
I don't
me.
think
I
he's
don't
super
fall in love with players,
special.
dude.
He's special. I think he's a guy. I think DeAndre Swift's a very good player who could be replaced by somebody who's better. What do I think about
I'm
DeAndre
not.
Swift?
You know me, dude. I don't fall in love with players. If you want to trade DJ Moore, trade DJ Moore. I don't give a fuck. I don't like. I don't. Justin Fields was tradable, cuttable, whatever. I don't fall in love with football players. I don't fall in love with Bears. DeAndre Swift has changed my mind about who he is because he's earned his money. He looks like an NFL running back. He's not just a pass catcher. And I thought that Washington game when he caught the pass that he did that turned into the game-winning touchdown, like he still is able to provide that while also being a really quality runner now. Eric Bieniemy made this guy a running back, dude. I never looked at DeAndre Swift as a running back. I looked at him as a halfback, a guy who he's an effective pass catcher. He's good in open space. He's too impatient. He runs into walls of offensive linemen because he can't wait for the play to establish or develop. He's been different to me, man. He's been different to me. He had the best run of his career was this season, and it was like a 17-yard touchdown. I forget who they even played. He bounced off a couple of tackles, kept his balance, spun on somebody. He looked like a running back.
Yeah, but
I want DeAndre Swift on this football team.
Finish the season with 1,100 yards. What if you can go get a guy like what if you can get a guy who's Jahmyr Gibbs who can get you 1,600 yards? I mean, you don't know that.
Unless you're putting capital that you don't need to spend on running back.
Well, what if the Bears
first round pick?
All right, so what if the Bears trade their next year's 2027 first round pick and their 2026 first round pick? So say they're number 21 this year. They're like, hey, Browns, we'll give you our first pick this year, so number 27, and our first pick, whatever, 22, wherever we're at, and we'll give you our first pick next year, and we're gonna draft Love out of Notre Dame. Like, what guy like that?
Kyle,
and he's gonna get you 1,500.
You said preceding this conversation that the tight end, wide receiver, running back are things you don't need. You can get better, but you don't need. Are you okay with trading? Are you okay with trading 2 first round picks for a position you said you don't need?
Well, it depends. If he's like a Jahmyr Gibbs, yeah, yes. If he's a Saquon Barkley, yes, I could.
Jeremiah Love is that player. He is.
I would 100%. Listen, I haven't done as much research on Jeremiah Love as you guys have.
He's a freak.
If he's that good, if you guys are comparing him to Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, that type of impact those players have.
Not the athletics, yes. Man. Not the athletics, but the.
Yes, I'm giving up 2 players.
The ability. He's elusive. Yes. He's powerful. Yes. He's not as fast as a Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not a Bijan Robinson catching the football. But when it comes to straight power and elusiveness,
yeah. And Brendan, the chat agrees with you. They say keep Swift, but you guys, let me ask you guys a question and answer honestly. I'm not picking on you. I like Swift, guys. I like him a lot. I've never said I don't like Swift. But what I'm saying is, like, people are like, oh, Swift had such a good year. Swift is awesome. Swift was amazing. He had 1,100 yards rushing. I mean, that's pretty standard in the NFL. That's almost like kind of the average for average running backs, like 11. Like you should be anywhere from 1,000, from 900 to 1,100. That's where the range of where running backs should be in the NFL. The guys who are special, the guys like Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, those guys, the guys who are talked about all the time, make Pro Bowls, the guys who get paid a lot of money. Those guys are in the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You saw Saquon Barkley almost hit 2,000. So what I'm saying is, could you save $7.5 million by cutting DeAndre Swift and then go find a guy in the draft who's probably going to end up having a better career than DeAndre Swift? If DeAndre Swift's peak of his career is 1,100 yards rushing in one season, if that's the peak, that's the best season he's had so far in his 7th year now in the NFL, don't you think you'd saving that $7.5 million to allocate towards the defense and building that defense up and getting a guy in the draft like a Jeremiah Love who could be better than DeAndre Swift? Don't you think that's a no-brainer? I mean, for me personally, if you can find, it's a big if, right? Because you guys, that's why this show is way too early to determine anything in black and white, because we don't know who's going to be available in the draft. We don't know who's going to be available in free agency. We don't know any of that. Some of these guys are going to be franchise tag. Some of these guys are going to be extended. Some people will fall in the draft because they may have an injury at the combine or they missed the combine. We don't know any of this stuff. So it's almost impossible but if the opportunity is there to get a guy like Jeremiah Love and you got to give up an additional first round pick and Ben Johnson can use him the way he used Jahmyr Gibbs, and you're in that same sentence, you also have to let Swift go and save that $7.5 million. Yeah. I'm sorry. I like Swift a lot, but I'm letting him go, man. That's just me personally. But I'm letting him go, man. I just think the Bears, we all talked about it before the season started. And Brendan, I agree with you. I think Swift was better this year than we expected him to be. I think he was. But we all talked about this before this last season began, 2025. There are guys who, if there's a guy out there who's available, who's special, like a Gibbs, like if Ben Johnson can go get his Gibbs, his Saquon Barkley, his Bijan Robinson, there's 12 of them in the NFL right now. Derrick Henry. If you can go get one of those guys and save $7.5 million in the meantime, I love, as much as I love Swift, I'm all for it. I am 100% it. 100%.
I'm not ready to spend a whole lot of resources at that position, man.
Sure, and I'm
J2K,
fine with.
real
I
real
agree
quick.
with that.
J2K, give me your. I like this little pre-draft analysis that he's doing. Give me your analysis on Yakas from Illinois, the edge rusher.
Well, Pilgrim's throwing his draft evaluations in here too. Kenneth Walker says, or Scottish says Kenneth Walker is possible available in free agency. He's better than Swift. Yeah, I would take Walker over Swift. Now, the only problem that concerns me with Walker, Scottish, so you end up paying him about the same, and he also has injury woes. If he's healthy all season, is he better than Swift? Probably. Is he healthy all season? Never.
Can
He
I ask you a
never
question,
has.
Kyle?
That's the problem with Walker, is you're cutting a guy who's kind of a workhorse type guy, but he's not special, and you're bringing in a guy who looks like he could be special, but he's not able to stay on the field. So Kenneth Walker would scare me a little bit. Me personally,
Players could always be improved. Swift could be upgraded, but the Bears, I think, were third in the NFL. He says Yakas is a guy. That's probably true. He lacks motor, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, but Vizzo, everybody split reps now.
We're
Do you agree with
third.
that?
We're third
It's always going to be a 1-2 punch, always, right?
between
You agree with
Monangai and
that, right?
Swift. We were third in the NFL in rushing. Do you want to trade 2 first-round picks to acquire Jeremiah Love, knowing that Ben can probably scheme it however he needs to
Vernon,
make the guys he has the most impactful?
This conversation is subjective and it could go on for hours, but it depends. I mean, if the Bears feel like they cannot turn this defense around in one offseason, they're like, guys, we're not going to be a top 15 defense next year. We just don't have the resources to rebuild this defense. Then yeah, I want you to go build the best offense you can. So at least you could, if you do win the Super Bowl, you can win it 52-48, right? Like you can always outscore people, but you can't, if you don't have special players on offense and playmakers over the field, you can't outscore everybody, right? So if the Bears, if
Swift
adding
is a playmaker, I'd even call him special.
I don't think he's special. I think he's good. I think Swift is underrated. I think he's good, but I don't think he's special. I think if you had to rank the running backs in the NFL right now, Brennan, you put Swift at what, 16, 17, 18 for $7.5 million a year. So you're getting the 16th, 17th, 18th best running back in the NFL. I mean, chat, where do you guys rank
after last season? I'd put him
of
higher than
all
that.
the running backs in the NFL? So you're talking about Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Christian McCaffrey. Think about the guys you drafted fantasy, Brennan. Chase Brown. All the guys we've talked about in the offseason, all the guys who are at the top of your fantasy draft. Kenneth Walker. Where do you rank DeAndre Swift if all those guys are healthy? DeAndre Swift's 15, 16, somewhere in there for $7.5 million a year.
Is a freak, man.
I don't know, man. If I'm going with the running back in the draft who's just as good as Swift and making $890,000 a year. That's the way I'm going. Vernon, these are the two guys.
So you're all in on Jeremiah Love, huh?
I'm all in on these. If these two guys are the only way you can create salary for this roster next year, if it's just cutting Jermaine Edmonds and DeAndre Swift, before we even talk about restructures, if it's just these two guys, you need that money. You need that $22 million. You need it because this defense sucks. You need it. You need $22 million, especially if you want to trade for a guy like Max Crosby, who's making $42 million a year. You got to make that money up somewhere. Bernard, would you rather have Travis Etienne and Kyle Monangai and Max Crosby, or DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai, and no Max Crosby? I mean, you got to make money up somewhere. You got to go get money somewhere. If you sign Travis Etienne to a contract, you could push all of his money into the future. So you could pay him $1 million this year, and then you could get more room for a guy like Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson. You can't do that if you're paying everybody in the roster is making $7.5 million a year plus. You can't do that. You're not going
to. So you believe that the Bears' interest in Etienne would be only a result of cutting DeAndre Swift?
It would be a result of cutting DeAndre Swift and the fact that they think that he's probably better than DeAndre Swift all around better player than DeAndre Swift. And you can put his money wherever you want. You could pay him $1 million in 2026 and then pay him $10 million in 2029. I don't know. For me personally, DeAndre Swift isn't a guy where if the Bears decided, hey guys, we're going to cut DeAndre Swift and we promise we're going to replace him with somebody who's just as good, if not better, I'm not upset about it. I'd be like, hey, I love Swift. I hope he has a great career wherever he goes. I hope he's happy, but it wouldn't.
Okay. So, we've talked about, so Swift and Edmonds are your cap.
Well, there's one more. There's one more cap cut.
Cairo Santos, you keep. You keep it. You keep it. But
Brendan, $3.2 million saved against the 40. He's getting paid $4 million this year. $4 million as a
I
kicker.
thought his ability to kick in elements was comparable to
I know,
nobody.
but Brendan, you can get a kicker, an undrafted free agent kicker, and you're paying him $800,000 a year. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you so you don't want to cut Santos? I don't want to talk about Santos too much.
I don't want to put a ton of time into Santos, but I say if the Bears can cut Santos and save another close to $4 million against the salary cap, and get a kicker who, like, how many of these kickers are we seeing, Brendan? They're coming in from Australia or they didn't even play in college, and they're coming in and kicking 60, 70-yard field goals. Santo would be high on my cut candidate list. Yes, those three guys right there are the guys that the Bears are going to have to consider cutting. That's going to be those three. If they want to make up money for this roster, if they want to make up more salary space, those three guys are the guys who are going to give you the most amount of money. That's
Santos is like I said, he kicks well in the elements. He's not a incredible kicker.
Dante, we're going to get right, Brendan. Since
let's talk about the tradable salary.
Well, these are tradable or restructurable.
Two.
So, no, there's a lot of guys who you could restructure a lot. So, Joe Thuney's the first guy we talk about. A substantial 2026 cap hit, about $16 million, all guaranteed. If you restructure him, you could free up to $7 to $1 million in cap space. So, Joe Thuney, I think Joe Thuney and Grady Jarrett, I think, are both going to be restructured, guys, whether they like it or not. I think Jarrett, Thuney, and Jackson are all going to be restructured. I think all three of those guys are going to be restructured this offseason. And they're going to do it because they want to stay on the Chicago Bears. Now, Brendan, here are the two guys that ChatGPT, so AI, and most articles consider Bears either to be restructured or traded, not cut.
I already know who they are.
Not cut candidates, because they're going to be a ton of dead cap. So these are the two guys that the Bears would consider trading. DJ Moore, who I believe has 5 years left on his contract, 5 or 6, and Cole Kmet, who has 1 year left on his contract. Those are the two guys that will either be restructured or they will be traded. So, and I listen, real quick, but before we continue, James isn't here today, guys, but James in the chat always says that trading DJ wouldn't do anything for you. Let me tell you guys, I did so much research on this because I wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about. If you trade DJ Moore post June 1st, you save $23 million. Yeah,
it does a lot for you.
$23 million you save in cap space. If you trade him after June 1st, if you trade him before June 1st, Brendan, $15 million against you save under cap space. 15 million. So, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of that's a whole nother player you could sign.
Dante, we'll start with your chat here. And you guys watched me this entire offseason. I mean, I don't feel like I hated on Cole Kmet, but I was very willing to part ways. I am very reluctant. You cannot get rid of this. It was your bread and butter. It will be in the future. The 13-man personnel is almost entirely what you played in the final game of your season. Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland need to remain on this football team.
I agree,
side
100%.
by side. DJ Moore, I'm moving. I want Jade Walker to be a part of this football team. I think that Luther Bird and Rome Odunze and Jade Walker would be just fine. Caleb is an elevator, right? This guy's supposed to elevate the talent around him. These three guys are good in their own right. And if there's woes, like I know there's some Rome haters out there, there's some the drops and this, that I think Caleb can make these three players, Jade Walker, Luther Bird, and Rome Odunze, they're all very young. He can make them good enough to win this team a Super Bowl. I think DJ Moore, as much as I love him, guys, I don't fall in love with players on a business level, but as much as I love the guy and what he's done against the Packers specifically, $23 million is a lot of money. And wide receivers, a thing you just don't need.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brent. I think the Bears have the best tight end tandem in the NFL.
Yeah, you can't change that.
If not the best,
I'm sticking on that now.
They're damn close. And real quick, just to somebody keeps talking about. Listen, I said it. I'll say it again, man. I like Kenneth Walker, Scottish. I love him. I like Kenneth Walker. I think he's a good player. But you just said he played every game. He played every game in 2025. Yeah, he did. And he had 1,027 rushing yards. 1,027 rushing yards. So Kenneth Walker, even when he's healthy, and it's only been one season that he stayed healthy all season, even in that season, he hasn't proven that he could be a bell cow. He hasn't proven that he could be the guy. He's split time almost 50. Yeah, he split time almost 50-50. And you know what? I think it's kind of telling that the Seahawks are like, hey, Charbonnet is going to be here in the future, and we're probably going to let Kenneth Walker walk. Well, why, if he's so amazing, why are they letting him walk? There's just question marks around Kenneth Walker to me. I like Kenneth Walker a lot. I think he's probably better than DeAndre Swift.
Erica, I
But
don't think
if you're paying
Justin's
him the
gonna
same
do-
amount as DeAndre Swift, there's just no reason to make that change. For me personally. But yeah,
I don't
Brennan,
think
I agree
Justin
with you.
Fields is gonna be on the Jets, Erica.
I agree with you,
Like he's
Brennan.
gonna be a missionary in
Well, he's going to have
another
to be because
fucking
they paid him
country.
$40 million guaranteed. So if they cut him, they're literally eating every single dollar of his salary. So at this point, you might as well keep him on as an emergency quarterback. You're paying him $40 million.
He sounded kind of retiree when he did that interview about being a missionary, man. He really did. He sounded like his true calling isn't football anymore. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah, you guys, and I believe Brendan, if you can look this up for me, I'm almost positive Jade Walker is also a free agent. So people keep saying,
yeah, he was on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, so people are like, "Oh, trade DJ because we got Jade Walker." Well, you don't know if you have Jade Walker. You got to sign Jade Walker, and if other teams want him and are competitive and they're driving up his price, Jade Walker is probably not going to be. Guys, the Bears do not have a lot of money. If you guys get a chance, if you haven't already, go listen to Ryan Pohl's press conference because it's when he's talking about allocating resources in the offseason, he talks about hey, we don't have a lot to allocate, and this is the hard part now. We did the part where we rebuilt the team. We paid everybody on rookie contracts. Now we have to figure out where to plug guys in, and we don't have that much money. This is where being a GM is the toughest. You have to figure out where the money you have remaining. That's tough.
But the Jade Walker thing, if you can trade DJ Moore and free up $23 million,
yeah, well, then of course
you can sign Jade Walker.
Yeah, but it would be post June 1st, Brennan. So Jade Walker would already have been talking to teams and free agents.
I would just sign Jade Walker. I don't think Jade Walker is. Listen, in the minimal snaps that he played, I thought he was good in separation. I thought he caught the ball when it was thrown his way. I don't think you can ask for a lot of money.
It remains to be seen, right? I mean, like there's not a lot of tape, right? There's a very small sample size of what he can do on the field, but at the same time, he played 2 preseason games, had 2 game-winning touchdowns, and played 1 or 2 NFL games and had 1 game-tying touchdown. So I'm sure that's going to be attractive to some suitors. I'm sure people looking for cheap receivers are going to be like, oh, we could pay him more than the Bears, and we like that kid. There's probably going to be a tiny bit of a bidding war for Jade Walker because the Bears like him, and I guarantee you, there's another team out there in the NFL somewhere.
I think Ben Johnson's going to bring him back. I think Ben Johnson was the reason that guy made this roster, man. I think he's going to bring him back.
Well, apparently, according to the Bears' resources, it was Antoine Randall who really liked Jade Walker. That's the guy he's the reason that he's here. But I don't know. I wasn't in the rooms.
I don't think Ben would find a suitor for DJ. Ryan would.
Erica just wants to trade the entire Bears team to the Titans for Jeffrey Simmons. that's her thing. Listen, Erica, I'm with you. We're talking about the defensive line again.
It sounded to me
Jeffrey
like
Simmons would be
ain't letting that guy go anywhere.
Yeah, it would be a perfect fit for the Bears. But I think that I agree with Brennan. I think the Titans think they're on their way up. I think they're like where the Bears were. They think they were the Bears were last year. They got their quarterback of the future. He did look good in the second half of the season. Cam Ward.
Oh, he
looked really good. I think
they like fucking stud.
I think they like Elick.
He's the best quarterback of this class, guys. Jackson Dart, whatever you should do, whoever you want. Cam Ward is the best quarterback.
I think the Titans are going to start trying to build off of the core, right? I think they're at the point now where they can start to build up, and they're not still like in the middle of a rebuild. I think now the Titans are going to start adding talent to that team to help Cam Ward get better. They got a new coach. They got to give him a fair chance. I don't think the Titans are going to be trading any of their major player trade chips.
Al Harris is interviewing there as well.
Yeah, everybody hates the Salah hire. I like it. I think it's a damn good hire, and I think the Titans are going to be very competitive.
I think that guy sucks as a head coach.
I think people say he sucks because he's on the Jets, and the Jets make anything look bad because that's who the Jets are. Because they're a terrible organization. They were the only team in the NFL in the last 20 years to not have an interception. Brendan, did you know that if you put $10 on the Jets not to have an interception week 1, and then you rolled over your winnings every week for them not to have an interception, you would have made $3.6 million? Do you know that? That's how hard it is to not get an interception in the NFL.
Hold on, man. We're talking about an organization that
the team sucks.
We're talking about an organization that only a few years ago had Mike Vrabel, Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, Julio Jones. That's turned into whatever the fuck this is. I mean, this Titans organization is terrible.
Yeah, but you, Dustin, and
they're terrible.
You guys are the ones who like Cam Ward.
I love Cam Ward.
Apparently, they're turning it around. I mean, you could have said the same thing about the Bears 6 years ago, and they're turning.
They just hired a coach who was very much not a head coach, and that's the reason he was terminated, man.
I can't wait to see what happens with the Titans. I think that hire is better than people think. I think anybody who goes to the Jets looks like shit. I think Aaron Glenn's going to look like shit for the rest of his career. I think they all look like shit.
You think a team that just fired Mike Vrabel, who was in the Super Bowl, is going to make a good choice at head coach?
Brandon, I mean, it's apples to apples, though, right? Because the Jets cut Sam Darnold, and he's about to play in a Super Bowl. Like the
Well, a
Jets
lot
are
of teams
just
cut
as
Sam
bad.
Darnold.
At least,
Jets drafted Sam Darnold.
at
A lot
least
of
the
teams cut Sam Darnold.
at least the Titans are making moves to make themselves look better. The Jets look like they're getting worse.
Kyle Shanahan
I don't
cut
know how
Sam
it's
Darnold.
possible, but the Jets look like they're getting worse, and the Titans look like they're making progress. They look like a team that looks like they're ready to compete next year. I'm not talking about for a Super Bowl or playoffs, guys, but I think if you play the Titans next year, it's not going to be 61-0 like it was this year. I think Cam Ward's going to get better. I think Elick Eoman or whatever his name is, and
Manor.
DK and all those guys. I think those guys are starting to fit in there well. I think Tajay Spears is underrated if he could stay healthy. I think they just need to get a workhorse running back, not a guy. And I'm not talking about Tony Pollard because I think he's overrated. But I'm telling you, man, I think that team, their offensive line is getting better. I think that team is going to be competitive next year. I think they are. Their defense needs a lot of work. Their defense needs a lot of work. A lot.
I think firing Mike Vrabel will go down as
it was dumb.
A top 3 worst decision of any sports organization.
It was dumb.
He's in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You just fired this guy. He's in a fucking Super Bowl. The first year he coached this new team. Like that's not even I'm like, if you're a Titans fan, how are you feeling about that right now?
Well, this is a different show for a different day, Brennan, but it was the easiest path to the Super Bowl I've ever seen in the history of if you guys go look at the quarterbacks the Patriots played all season, it's embarrassing. It's actually embarrassing. It's I don't know how that happens is like the greatest luck and just best scheduling you could possibly get in the NFL.
We know, so we both agree Komet's a player I'd keep around just because of the dynamic that this is presenting for this Bears offense. Guys, it was something special. If you didn't pick up the tight ends is where Ben Johnson's going to make a difference, and it's where this Bears team's going to beat everybody just about in the future. We've gone through pretty much all of it, Kyle.
But there's one thing I want to say. You could restructure Cole Kmet if you extend him. If you extend Cole Kmet, you can push some of the money he's due this year. Say you extend him for 1 year, you could push that money back to next year. And next year, the Bears are looking. They're saying the Bears will be $60 million under the salary cap in 2027. So they'll have a lot more space. So you could extend Kmet and push all of his money when you extend him, restructure his contract, and push that money back to next year. So there are multiple ways you can keep Kmet, and he's not going to hurt you financially.
Well, sure,
multiple ways.
Sure, J2K, but I mean Josh McDaniels, sure, but.
I mean, yeah, but Mike Vrabel hired him.
Who was the best? Who was the best quarterback that Mike Vrabel ever had going into the playoffs on that Tennessee Titans football team? Ryan Tannehill?
Nobody worth talking about.
I mean, this guy overachieves. He achieves with less. I don't know that this Patriots team was ready to go to a Super Bowl if they hired a different coach. I don't think they were. This dude's the real deal.
Yeah, Brennan, we were wrong. Scottish Bears says Jade Walker. In 2026, Jade Walker is under contract with the Chicago Bears for a second year of a 3-year, $2.985 million rookie deal signed in 2025. Undrafted.
Thanks, Scottish.
Yeah, that's. I think most undrafted free agents get a 3-year contract. I think most of them get a 3-year contract. I think that's kind of how it works.
So there's your answer. So trade DJ Moore. We resolved that.
Yeah, he's not on the free agent list. So, but the reason I didn't really look into it is because they may not have put him on there because he was on the practice squad a lot. But I was like, man, he should be on here. If he's a free agent, he should be on here. And he wasn't on their list. So yeah, I figured he still had another year on his contract. But that's awesome. That's good for the Bears because now they don't have to worry about. That's one more thing they don't have to worry about.
I feel like I'm boxing.
My computer falls to sleep for some reason, and then I just can't get the screen back on unless I move it around. It's weird.
Oh, I want to ask you a question, Kyle, before we hang this thing up. This was a great season, fun season. We all talked about it, the difference that this Bears season had compared to the most recent, well, at least 20. But what's going into an off season? Why is this different for you? Like when the Bears lost that football game, you're hanging your head low. What is different?
Well, first and foremost, the Bears have a damn good coach and a franchise quarterback. I've never said that in my life ever. I think that's the first time that quote has ever come out of my mouth. Secondly, Brennan, I'm not as invested in the offseason as I am next season. I'm more looking forward to watching the Bears start football. Where usually especially in like 2022, 2023, I was like, let's see who we're going to draft a quarterback. Let's see who the Bears can add a defense. Let's see if they can draft a stud linebacker or a stud defensive end. Now, as much as I am going to be interested in that stuff, I am just antsy for football to get started again. I want to see the Bears on the
Yeah,
field again.
dying
And this
for
is the
week 1.
first that usually in the offseason is our season.
This is our
It's
Super
usually what
Bowl.
it is.
I,
It's
I
usually
agree
what
with
it
you,
is.
man. And I think I said this on a show a couple weeks ago. I thought it got we brushed over too quickly. I didn't feel the same pain and heartbreak from the loss the Bears suffered a couple of weeks ago. I felt like it's okay. And I felt that naturally, Kyle. Like I didn't think about feeling that way. I just felt it, and I felt they'll be back. They'll be back. Ben Johnson will be back. The difference in
Yeah,
having a good
Brennan,
head coach, guys,
barring any
even without the franchise quarterback, let's just say Caleb was just good enough. But he is a franchise quarterback. He's possible MVP next year. But let's just say he's good enough. A head coach like Ben Johnson, sustainable success is something this Bears team hasn't had in a long time. The culture's different. I just feel like they'll be back. Not only will they be back, Kyle, they'll be back again and again and again and
yeah,
again.
there's a couple things. So if Caleb Williams sustained a short-term injury, 4 weeks, high ankle sprain, I think the Bears would be all right. I think Tyson Bagent come in and go 2-2. I think they're capable of doing that. If Caleb Williams sustains a season-long injury where he's out for the season and Tyson Bagent is, I think the Bears could still somehow make like a tiny bit of a playoff push, a wild card push, but I think your season is pretty much over. So first and foremost, let me say that. And that's not to say, Brian, that the sustained success is not going to be there because you still have Caleb Williams you're going to have him for the next 10, 12 years. I'm assuming the Bears are going to pay him. So yeah, the Bears are still going to be probably playoff contenders for the next 10 years, as long as Caleb Williams is the quarterback and Ben Johnson's the coach. But I will say, I agree with you. But you do have to take advantage of these moments when they come. You
Hey, don't
can't
take
just
anything for granted. We
you
talked
can't
about that
just keep
already.
saying, well,
I
we're going to be
just
here again.
that's
Like
yeah, but
Josh Allen's been
see,
saying
you're
that, the
throwing in
Bill's
the
been
butt.
saying that, the Lions
That
been saying
became
that.
the show. That was why I wanted to say like we brushed over it. Like there is a difference now. So like, and yes, it sucks just the same. Even if before, even without the coach quarterback combination, it sucks when you're this close to a Super Bowl and you lose, you failed, and you have to take advantage of those moments. You can't take anything for granted. But when we all know that, we all embrace it. It's good knowing that even though you fell short, it's okay. It's the first time I can say
Well, I'll
that.
tell you this.
It's okay
This might be the
because
first time in my
because you're
life,
you're gonna you're gonna
maybe
succeed for a
maybe
while here.
maybe not the first time in my life, but very few and far between. For once, I would say not winning the NFC North would be a disappointment. I think that's where my standards are set. I think the Bears set the standards in the NFC North. I think the Bears are going to have one of the best offenses in the NFL. I mean, God, Ben Johnson's first year here, Caleb Williams' second year here, and they were number 6 in the NFL
And
in offense.
Caleb's first year with Ben Johnson, which
They're
is a
only
big
going to get
deal.
better. It's only going to get better. And like you said, Brennan, even though there's not a ton of holes on the offense, they are going to fix some things on the offense. They're going to bring guys in here that fit Ben Johnson's scheme better than it's like maybe they don't like Smythe as much as we do. Maybe they don't like Swift as much as we do. Maybe they don't like Monangai as much as we do. Maybe those positions are going to be upgraded if the Bears have money to allocate towards those positions. So the offense is going to get better. Like it's going to look, and it's going to
It's
look
going to
more
get better with
polished.
development as well.
Yeah, more polished. They're going to open the playbook up all the way to Caleb Williams because he's going to know the terminology. It's going to be the game's going to slow down from a little bit more than it did this year. The Bears are going to get better, and they're going to be a
And
damn good
Kyle,
for a long time. What they do on
I
the
saw
defense is huge. It's
I
huge.
saw a post that said this, and I thought, yeah, somebody posted Luther Burden catching up like he's practicing on the field. He's catching punt returns, but he's just catching the ball and throwing it. And it said at the very top, 2026 wide receiver 1. And I think that's going to be the case. And I think
I mean,
you're
Colston Loveland is pretty much tight ends. Like you have two number
Coach
one.
Levin's your best pass catcher. He's your best
You're going to
target.
have two number
Wide
ones. So.
receiver 1, though, is Luther Burden. And I think that in itself, when that kid is unleashed on the NFL, will make a difference in your offense by itself.
Well, just to wrap up the show, Vernon, you don't ever want to see anybody leave. You fall in love with all the Bears players, especially after a year like that. That was a very special unit for the Bears. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the same next year. There's going to be new guys here. There's going to be guys who are here that were gone. But I would like to, if the Bears can, I'd like to see them restructure DJ and keep him here because I think he still helps the development of Caleb. I think Caleb still needs as many weapons as he can get. It's going into his second year in this offense. I would like to see the Bears restructure
I want to see more Burden and more Walker.
I want to see all of them. I want to see the Bears restructure the contract with all three of those offensive linemen that they signed this off, or that they traded for and signed this offseason. And I want to see the Bears build this defense. And I want to see this team get back to its old ways, where you have one of the best linebackers, one of the best defensive ends, one of the best defense tackles, and you have that ferociousness and that physicality where you can line up against anybody in the NFL, physically beat the shit out of them. I want the 85 Bears mixed with the 2026, 2025, 2026 Bears offense. That's what I want. And I think the Bears, if they do that, they'll win a lot of Super Bowls. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's time to get the monsters of Midway back. Kyle, if you want to give a shout out, I can't read the chat, but
yeah, well, yeah, J2K, Scottish Bear, Justin just joined the show. Flex Diggs, True Pilgrim, or it's Scottish, yeah. Romy's in the house. Sean was here. Erica. Brennan, I mean,
J2K, Dante, Bruce,
Phil was here. Bruce, everybody in the chat as
Bizzo,
always. Yeah, we love you guys.
Erica.
Ron was here. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. We will see you guys Wednesday on the Barely There podcast with Sean, Jason, and I. We're going to get into some of these free agents that the Bears could consider at the defensive line, at safety, left tackle, and we're going to get into start digging into the draft a little bit, guys. We will later on down the show on Wednesdays, and I'm sure Vernon and Dustin will do it on the Bare Minimum on Thursdays as well. We will have draft shows where we break down defensive tackles, defensive ends, wide receivers, running backs.
No, we won't do that, but yeah, Barely There. That was a great stretch last year.
We'll go through all that stuff, guys. We'll get into some more off-season.
You'll know all the names of all the guys getting drafted if you watch that show consistently.
Yeah, you guys, honestly, I think Sean, Jason, and I talked about almost every single player the Bears drafted at one point or another. For sure, Shamar Turner. For sure, Ozzie Trapillo. Definitely Luther Burden. Definitely Colston Loveland. I mean, almost Kyle Monangai was mentioned. Almost the entire draft class was mentioned on the Barely There podcast. So if you guys are interested, please come join our show.
Before they were drafted.
Yes, and I talked extensively about the Bears drafting Colston Loveland at 10 months before the season. Justin actually picked the Bears to draft Luther Burden at 39. He called that to a T. So if you guys are interested, I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys. Thank you so much for all the chats and comments today, guys. It really does make the show much easier.
Soon.
And we appreciate you guys, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care of each other, or take care of yourself so you can take care of each other. Love you guys so much. Thank you. Bern, anything else you want to say?
Bear the fuck down, guys. Fuck Green Bay. Fuck the Packers. Yeah. Fuck those guys. I hate those guys.
Go Bears, man.
Bear down.